Okay, I am calling this meeting to order. If you would all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the first item on the agenda is acceptance of the minutes. So we have minutes from the July 27 special workshop that was a review of our zoning amendment. And then we have minutes from our regular evening workshop on the 27th. I will ask for a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I heard Perry, and so Mel Corpy, you'll be second. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, great. Next item is just to clarify the agenda. The one thing we do need to do that's not formally listed is set the next special zoning meeting. So I would like to propose that we add that to the end of the general business. I guess I'll ask, I make a motion that we add the zoning meeting to the end of the general business agenda. You have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Craig. All in favor?
Aye.
I would like to also just put on the record a comment about the tours and just a quick discussion of that as well. I'd like to move to put that on the agenda. Or,
Sure. You make that motion. Is there a second?
A second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything to add to the agenda? Okay, with that, I will take a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Thank you, Craig. Second.
Second?
Thank you, Perry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, the first item on the agenda is a discussion of, no, I'm totally sorry, it's public comment. Important time. If anyone would like to make public comment, please come on forward. I'll start with the folks in the room. Public comment from anybody here? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody move. Is there anyone online who would like to make, Wendy Chamberlain, you have raised your hand. Let me unmute you. Okay, Wendy, hi. Yeah, you need to, can hear you, would love to see you if you could turn on your video.
Okay, just a second. There, can you see me okay?
Yes, we can. So if you would state your name and the location where you live, and then please,
My name is Wendy Chamberlain, and I'm from Oneida County, New York.
and you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Wendy Chamberlain, and I'm the founder and president of Kratom Danger Awareness, a nonprofit organization dedicated to educating families and communities and policymakers for the risks associated with the kratom. But most importantly, I'm here tonight as a mother. On August 30th, 2020, I lost my only child and son, Joseph, at just 38 years old. Joseph was a father of 3, a business owner, hardworking man who loved life. He was not using kratom to get high. He was not using one of the highly concentrated 7-OH products that you hear so much about today. He was using traditional whole leaf kratom powder for energy. One evening, Joseph sat down in his recliner to watch television. He fell asleep and never woke up. His death certificate and autopsy determined his cause of death to be accidental metrogeny toxicity, the only substance that was identified in his toxicology. Excuse me, I got a cold coming on. The distinction is extremely important. There is a great deal of attention being placed on 7-OH products. And I agree that these products, I can't do this.
Take your time.
There's a great deal of attention being placed on 7-OH products. And I agree that these are highly concentrated products. I can't talk because I'm losing my voice. I am for a full ban. In my county, we have an ordinance that was signed in June by our county legislator, Anthony Pizzanti. And tomorrow it goes in front of Ways and Means Committee. And then the next step will be voted on and signed into law by the New York State Secretary. And I will be attending a hearing in Oswego County next month because they're proposing a full ban. And I'm not sure if you realize that Nassau County signed into law a countywide ban. So I am hoping that your county, your little town, would agree to a full ban. Just keeping natural leaf and banning 7-OH is leaving loopholes.
Wendy,
It's not protected.
thank you very much. We really appreciate your coming on.
I'm
And
sorry that I couldn't finish.
no, that's quite all right. I think we definitely understand your point, and we appreciate you coming to give us your perspective. I have Susan who's raised her hand. So Susan, you're next. Oops, I think I'm unmuting and you're unmuting. Go ahead.
They're okay.
Great. If you could,
Okay?
we can hear you. We'd love to see you as well.
Yes, let me turn my video on. Just give me a minute.
No problem.
Can you see me?
Yes,
now?
absolutely. Thank you. If you would state your name,
Yes.
where you live, and
My name is Susan Cave.
you have 3
Just
minutes.
let me pull my testimony up here. My name is Susan Cave. I'm calling from Blairsville, Georgia, and I'd like to give you my testimony.
Go ahead. You have 3 minutes. Yep.
My 32-year-old son, William Cave, died while wade fishing at St. Mark's Lighthouse in Wakulla County, Florida in April of 2024. Witnesses who were fishing in a small boat close to shore saw my son fall face forward and not get up. There was no struggle or attempt to get up. By the time they got to him and pulled him to shore, he was gone. William was wearing a GoPro camera which recorded his death. William's toxicology and medical examiner's report came back and showed that he had accidentally drowned, and the only contributing cause was mitragynine toxicity. My son did not use illicit drugs, drink alcohol, or anything like that. He took kratom to supplement his prescribed antidepressant meds in hopes of feeling better. He thought it was safe because it's marketed as safe. Since William's death, I've been on a mission to advocate for change by educating lawmakers at the state and local levels of government, by providing support to other families who have lost loved ones from kratom, and by reaching the public through news, social media outlets. I am supported in my advocacy work by Kratom Danger Awareness, a nonprofit group dedicated to protecting communities and spreading awareness. Please cut me off when my time is up. But
I'll let you know.
I'm going to give you some reasons why regulating kratom will not work. 1, kratom does not have a safety profile or standardized dosing. 2, labels and age restrictions do not change kratom's pharmacology. 3, states that have passed regulation laws continue to see kratom involve deaths. 4, raw kratom alone causes deaths as proven by toxicology reports and medical examiners' reports. 5, there are over 40 alkaloids in raw kratom and still not a complete understanding of the 2 alkaloids, the main alkaloids, which are mitragynine and 7-hydroxymitragynine. 6, the kratom plant and products made from kratom are extremely variable in their makeup. Every leaf is different depending on where it's grown overseas, the environmental growing conditions, how it's harvested, how long it's cured, and how long it's allowed to ferment, and the manufacturer's processing technique. 7, mitragynine found in the kratom leaf is metabolized naturally inside the body into 7-OH. Because of this fact, you cannot say that 7-OH is completely different substance than raw kratom. They're one and the same. 8, it is a known fact that kratom manufacturers, retailers, users, and advocates say kratom is a do-it-yourself remedy from everything from pain, cough, and depression to diarrhea and addictions. 9, there are online forums right now full of stories of people who became addicted to something they thought was going to help them. There are websites like Grow Kratom that actually warns their customers to not use their product if they're subject to any form of drug testing. The single ascending dose study, often cited by industry advocates, was an early phase pharmacological experience, not a safety study.
Susan, that would be 3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for letting me testify. Please, listen to the people that have lost children that have been severely affected by kratom, and I hope you ban this, in Red Hook. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time. We really appreciate it, and so very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
And that goes to you as well, Wendy. Thank you for sharing your story, and we are certainly very sorry for your loss. So Susan, you just spoke. Your hand is still raised.
I'm gonna
Oh,
unmute.
I can exit out. There we
I'm
go.
gonna mute. I'm sorry, I'm gonna mute.
Got it. Is there anyone else online who would like to speak? Okay, not seeing any. Last call for public comment. Oh, well, we also have someone else online.
Yeah, that's same Susan.
Mm,
Is it up? Yeah, Susan, raise your hand again.
oh, okay.
I think it's probably.
I think it's well. If there's a new Susan who would like to speak, please unmute yourself.
Hello, my name's Susan Efford.
We'd love to see you if you would turn on your video, and let us know where you live, and we'll give you 3 minutes.
Yes, I live in Muskegon, Michigan. My son was born and raised in Muskegon, Michigan, and he died at the age of 22 years old from kratom whole leaf powder. He died in 2021, and that's before the semi-synthetics or synthetics come out in late 2023. I fully support banning all forms of kratom. I understand that 7-OH is, more potent and more deadly. But also, we put Sudafed behind the counter so that people can't just go out and make as much methamphetamines as they want to. So maybe if we could just put that behind the counter, and then people can't just, go on YouTube and, get a pile of kratom powder and they can make their own 7-OH or any other semi-synthetics, metragine, subendoxil, because that's what will happen. If there's no limit and it's not behind a counter and we're not, keeping track of it. My son died. Kratom caused him to have a seizure, go into cardiac arrest, and die on his kitchen floor in front of his girlfriend, who was forever devastated, along with all of our other family members. And toxicology and autopsy showed he died from the toxic effects of metragine, an alkaloid found only in kratom. And he had no other prescription drugs, no illicit street drugs, nor alcohol in his system when he died, and his autopsy showed he was perfectly healthy. And he should have lived to be a father and a grandfather. And I just like everybody to know that one person dying, you're saying, oh, it's just one person, but it's not. Like, the whole family has been torn apart by this tragic event. And I believe that most states or most counties and towns don't have the equipment. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to test and to see if there's actually any 7-OH in these products. So there's no way you're really gonna know. And it's a very deceptive industry. They're selling these seltzers. And they're just saying they're healthy, wellness drink, caffeine-free, alcohol-free, and it's something that I would have bought. And it's something that people will give to their kids and grandkids, not knowing, because it says it's, caffeine-free, alcohol-free, and I just feel like it's a danger to children because, we're not gonna stop all the other stuff from happening, more worse drugs that they're gonna make out of the 50+ alkaloids in kratom.
Susan, thank you very much. We really appreciate you coming in and sharing your story, which is obviously very difficult, and we're really very sorry for your loss. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Was there someone here who in the room who would like to speak? Yeah, come on up. If you just come up to the podium, and if you would state your name and where you live, and you've got 3 minutes.
Hello.
You can pull it down. There you go.
Alita Murray on Phillip Street. And I just would like to urge the village board to understand that a lot of village residents have concerns about the lighting, the athletic lighting. I, of course, acknowledge that New York courts generally grant public schools educational immunity from local zoning ordinances. However, villages and their residents do possess distinct legal and advocacy avenues to influence these lighting proposals. There's something referred to as the Cornell test balancing factor. This refers to a landmark New York State Court of Appeals ruling that educational institutions cannot completely ignore local concerns. There certainly is many environmental and community concerns, and we'd like to have a voice at the table. We'd like to be collaborative and request that there be a real avenue for input. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public? Sure, come on up. State your name, where you live, and you've got 3 minutes.
Gino Balichek. I live right here in the village of Red Hook, 51-year resident here. I don't know if this is the proper time to bring up a health and safety issue that I've been, experiencing living on Fisk and Elizabeth Street with the flooding and the drainage problems that we're having. Fortunately, none of my neighbors are here today because they're all on vacation, so here I am. I've emailed and called several times over the years, and it's just been getting worse, probably with climate change or with the chocolate factory not having proper drainage because everything's sloping into one part, especially Christopher Monastery's house. The whole road is flooded every time it rains, and it takes forever. And cars can't drive by at the same time. People trying to walk, there's no sidewalk. You can't walk down that road when it rains. And I own a house on the corner with a basement that constantly gets flooded. And I've spent thousands of dollars in trying to fix mold issues that over the past years, I've never had this problem until the last several years. And I know that when it rains a lot of places do get flooded. That street right there it's really bad. I've sent pictures. Fran, thank you for getting back to me. I appreciate that. I just wanted to bring up to your attention. I've been told that you guys have been looking at some ideas on trying to fix this, and I'm just here today letting you know I'm very concerned. I don't know how much longer I can keep on fixing my house, living where I do live, where I shouldn't have these issues. People driving by, splashing the water goes onto the fence is all rotted away. I don't know what there could be done. I know I had an easement years ago, like 40 years ago, that they dug in the backyard and they had a drainage going to where Central Hudson's property used to be. That kind of alleviated a lot of the problems, but since the chocolate factory paved their driveway, 20 years ago, everything's going into that one area. And I have a young son that lives in the area, in the house, and he's constantly riding his bike. He can't go that way because you're going to get hit by a car. There's no room for 2 cars to go by. And I know there's another issue, I think, right in front of St. Christopher's. I don't know how bad that has been. I've noticed that there's flooding there too, but I just wanted to bring up my concern where I live and how long I've lived here, and I'm hoping that the Village of Red Hook will really look into and try to get this fixed sooner than later, because it's been years, and I'm here today presenting my case and letting you know that I hope you guys can see what I'm talking about and maybe do something soon. I appreciate it, and just let me know. I know you have my email and my phone number, so I appreciate your time.
Yeah, we know how to reach you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. And I do want to just comment related to the school lighting. We actually have that as an agenda item, so we will talk about that. And we also have your situation as an agenda item, so we will discuss that also. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, well, let's move on to general business. So the first item on the agenda under general business is specifically related to the proposed receiving station and the Phase 2 sewer project. I did put together, in concert with our engineer, a description of the proposed potential receiving station and its intent, just to clarify, because there isn't a whole lot of detail in the preliminary engineering report. And so I have shared that with a variety of people, but it, it didn't make it onto the agenda, but I do have a copy for anyone who would be interested. But just to clarify, the idea behind the receiving station was to mitigate, primarily to mitigate costs. And the first part of that was when there's an emergency individual septic tank that's often after hours that needs to be pumped out. Right now we get charged 50% more by our pumping company to both pump it out and dispose of the septage. This would enable us, so the intention for the project is to purchase a vacuum truck for the village for the project in general, not specifically for the receiving station. But that would give us the opportunity to do the pump out, and we could discharge the septage into the receiving station in an emergency situation. That would both reduce the cost, and it would also make it a more efficient emergency scenario. It would be done more efficiently, let's put it that way. And then the other is there could be the possibility of receiving a very limited amount of septage from nearby sewer systems. This is not intended to be a large item. We are not creating capacity for that. It's literally, while there's capacity, that would be something that we could consider. There would always be testing, even of our own septage, before it would be added into our system. And the idea is it would be a closed system. It would be something where the pipe would connect to a pipe connection, and it would then dump into effectively a catch basin. In that catch basin it would be screened, and then it would go into a sludge holding tank, and then from the sludge holding tank it would join, the liquid would join the rest of the effluent, the influent that would be coming in from the rest of the system. And this is not a done deal. This was just giving us the opportunity to explore it further, to see whether or not it was something that made sense. If we didn't have it in the preliminary engineering report, we couldn't put it in later. And so the idea was we would put it in so that we could review it as a possibility, and if it ends up being something that is either it's going to emit odors, we don't want that, we would not have it. If there are other complications or issues, we would not install the, and then the other, just to clarify, the estimated cost is $150,000 for this. So it's not we're not talking about a big, we're not looking to go into the business of accepting septage. Absolutely not. We have plenty to deal with. So I just wanted to give that framework. And then Fran, I don't know if you wanted to talk about what you, thank you, what you put together.
Yeah, sure. I was taking the opportunity of our recent expressions of concern from the public about permissive referendum and the issues that they had brought brought up concerning that, and it seemed to me that it would be a good opportunity for us to take a look at what exactly we mean by the receiving station proposal, and whether in fact, because I have in the breakdown that's on the agenda, what we pay currently Superior Sanitation to do all of the septic tank pumping, both routine and emergency. It comes out of the mayor's budget line. It's in your reference material there. So in terms of the affordability of the whole thing, seeing as we are investing or proposing to invest in a very expensive system, my question for the board and what I was hoping to discuss is whether in fact this would be a way to save on expenses that we do not have at this time because we've not built this thing. And I'm just proposing this as an exercise. So we do know that we contract out to Superior Sanitation currently, right? And that's the number to beat. So this, in the second column where I have the in-house costs associated with building this receiving station, is not just the 200K, or I believe the mayor just said more like, well,
It would be, because you've included the cost of the truck, and the truck is going to be purchased, the truck is not for the receiving station. The truck is to facilitate the operations and maintenance of the bigger system that we are proposing. So the truck is not specific to the receiving station.
Sure, but it is in the scope that the 200 would be in. As in, we will still be paying the premium and we'll still be paying. No,
Well, I guess it
that's-
depends on, so one of the tricky parts about this analysis that you have here is the budget line is our estimated budget amount for this year. If you look at last year, we had a lot more emergency pumping. We don't generally plan to have a lot of emergency pumping. And so it's a little hard to do a comparative analysis. The receiving station would not replace having a contract with a septic company, which is currently Superior Sanitation. We would continue to have that service, and the regular pumping of tanks would still be taken care of by a contracted company. So the 20,400 is really not what you're comparing it to. It's an expectation of what might one consider emergencies to be. And it may be that it doesn't come out to say, gee, we're going to save money. But there's a lot more that I think we need to learn before we can make the full estimate. So for example, you've got a capital reserve for truck replacement. I would argue that it doesn't necessarily apply to the receiving station as a cost. And then the fuel insurance, et cetera, if there's 5% of its use that ends up being for emergency septage, that would, 5-10%, I would say max.
Okay, if you wouldn't mind, if you would do an exercise with me, just because all I need is numbers. These are all things
and honestly, I'd rather not go into a whole lot of details today, because we don't have all the details of what it is that this is a preliminary.
It's a preliminary, but you also said that we're doing this so that we will save money down the road. But if we don't have those numbers, how are we making that assertion? Like, we could be investing in something, and I know you said it's less than, I'm just trying to get a sense of what it is we're talking about.
And I think this is a really good exercise in doing that. And I don't even think, I just don't think the numbers are available in this moment, is what the mayor's saying in that way, to do the exercise in this moment. But I think the exercise that you're doing is good, and everyone wants to do the exercise.
No, but
It's making sure it's valid.
It's in the preliminary engineering report.
But as you say, some of these notes as well are your own estimations, yes?
No, they're all my estimations, but I'm trying to have a conversation about what exactly it is that we're proposing. And specifically with the opportunity of the receiving station conversation, because we just had, a bunch of community concern around it. So my interest is in finding out what are we actually talking about when we say the receiving station. And as I understand from the sewer team, that this is not a non-negotiable. So if it's something that we are talking about, we don't have to have it. why would we not engage with the public and find out?
So I
I think
think
we
part,
are, I think we are, I don't think we're not doing that. Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
No, go ahead.
No, I think
Not
we-
really.
No, please,
well,
I only
hang
mean,
on.
I
We're
only
in a
mean,
we're in a formal board meeting, the opportunity for public comment has passed. So this is not the moment to have a back and forth with people who are observing. This is an opportunity for the board to have our conversations.
only, all I mean to say is that I agree that I think this is a wonderful workshop and a wonderful rough draft of an idea that we need to workshop over time, right? We need to like have a minute to get the numbers together and can't do it in this exact moment. That's what I was trying to say. Because we also got this document, you know, as we say, the agenda items don't always come forward with enough time to fully get everything together for everybody, as you've commented in the past. So I know I'm not fully prepared with every single number in this moment because,
Can I say something to the, so in this thing, there's a comparison of the contractor today and then the in-house proposed, which is
Yeah.
Fran's, estimations. The contractor today,
Mhm,
we still are planning to have a contractor that would take things away, right?
mhm.
And does that include the sludge that we take out of the plant as well?
At
Is
the
that in the
end?
contract?
This should be septic tanks, so this would be the individual septic tank pumping. There's a separate line item for the sludge that's removed from the wastewater treatment plant.
And then is there a separate one for grease tanks too, or just?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is just the sludge, which is not necessarily what we're thinking. This is basically, from what I understand, is that it is for emergency preparedness. So if any issue were to happen, we as a village can address it without the extreme charges that we have been fielding in the past year, right?
I'm wondering,
The other is this is also based on our current system. It is not based on the expanded system.
In which we would have an expanded EQ tank. So,
Yes, but we would also have, the septic, the number of septic tanks goes up significantly. So
Sure,
the
sure.
opportunity for the need for an emergency pump goes up.
is it possible to reconfigure our understanding of it as an emergency, as a village emergency receiving tank? Because I hear as though there's an incredible legitimate concern that it's going to expand the operations. And I think the intention of it is not to expand the operations of the plant, but rather to mitigate the emergency experiences of the plant and the ways in which that has become unsustainable,
but
is my understanding.
The capacity of the plant is not intended to expand. The capacity of the plant is as it has been designed. And so the receiving station just gives the opportunity to put in a very limited amount of septage. And so that, that's why I put together the narrative. And I concur, Perry, I think doing a financial exercise is a good one. I don't think that we are going to be able to effectively do that together tonight at our meeting. I would love to have some time to understand some of the assumptions in the numbers you have here, Fran, and to think about it. So I'm not suggesting that we don't do this exercise. I just don't think that doing it tonight in our meeting with not necessarily all the information is the best use of time.
okay, would everyone, would anyone be open to moving that we address these at our upcoming workshop?
Oh, definitely. I
We
feel
can
like I
certainly add it to the
only,
agenda. I'm not sure we'll have all the information then either, but we'll certainly be able to have more.
Well, then before we move there, because so this is really just about cost benefit. Like, does it make sense for us to have it in there? And that's something that we either have or we don't. And this is in the preliminary engineering report, and what the mayor has shared and what you've shared a little of is that we have what we have, and we're proposing the truck, although apparently some of that is not in this scope, or some of it is in this scope, and anyway, so there's that, there's the receiving station, and there's the piping, which is here. All I'm saying is that it's not as simple as we're just putting this 200K, we might as well get it now, because what if we can design a system that is leaner, that can get us, because we are expanding the EQ tank, we have all of these other
The expansion of the EQ tank is not the same function as a receiving station. With a bigger tank, you can't necessarily put septage into the tank, you have to have a way to do that. And so this is literally a way to do that. That includes a screen so that you're eliminating anything like rags, paper, what have you, before it gets into the next part of the system. So the expanding the EQ tank is a different item from the receiving station. And again, we're now talking engineering questions, and aside from our clerk, I don't think anyone has engineering experience, so
electrical engineering.
I think the opportunity...
From one of the finest universities in the...
This isn't an electrical engineering issue. This is a...
You said engineering. So.
I did, that is true. Fair point. Let's put this on the agenda for the workshop.
Agreed, yeah, I
Sure,
think,
right.
because I think it's a wonderful exercise, I think it's a necessary exercise, because I think the whole intention, once again, is not to expand operations of the plant, but to try to find ways of making it somehow cost effective. So it's a necessary exercise, but we just got the numbers, so if we
And
could come back to them and
also,
have a couple of days,
since
I
we
would
are
love to
talking
continue
about
to talk.
engineering, since we are talking about the engineering bit, and what would be useful in that conversation, because I did speak to Dello, and as you saw in there, I have one answer that came back. He did also say that the mayor has done her own calculations, so I would like, if we are, moving to table, I would also move that we have either in writing or a visit, I don't mind which, from Delaware to answer some of these about these assumptions, just to get the public, it's all very well to have the conversations if someone, the coalition or who have you has the privilege of private conversations with whoever, that's great, but the rest of the public, I think, is owed this information, and that's.
Wait, what information are they owed? Because
Whatever information that the mayor has shared, the information that is.
That's
Yes,
right here.
but did it go on the agenda? You said it didn't. And the public does
It
not
was
have it.
intended to go on the agenda.
Well,
It didn't make it to the agenda. It will be public. It is public.
No, I just
No one's hiding anything. It's information that is certainly available and will be available.
I think one of the thing that I find a little confusing about this is yet again another AI generated thing with a lot of assumptions and text that it's really hard to know what is.
And that's very easy to say, however, it's just English there. There is no AI generated. This is the budget line. The first line is septic tank pumping, budget line 8130.45. That's not from AI, that's literally the mayor's budget.
There are assumptions.
Just to be clear, it's the budget that the board has accepted.
Okay, they approved budget
It's also the
for
budget for
2027.
2026 to 2027.
Sure,
It does not
correct.
include the expanded project.
Correct.
The thing
That's
is,
both correct.
I'm sorry, my original point was that often AI, sometimes it can be accurate and sometimes there can be data poisoning. And it is hard for me to understand what, this is coming from Claude, right? That you put in something and it's tricky to know
But it's
what's
very-
accurate and what's not, because I don't have the numbers to reflect it. So I do think that we should talk about it as an agenda. I don't know if going down this AI generated document is, I don't know, anyway.
Firstly, thank you for dismissing the work, because I do it, it's very hard to do, this just doesn't pop out of Claude. Every number in here is a number that explains itself in any case. I look
Okay,
forward
I'm
at
hearing-
some point to
I'm
having a conversation
hearing
about
that we all agree
reality.
that we will have
Yeah.
this conversation and we will put it on the agenda for our workshop in August.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one distinction, is that I think there are two themes here. One of them is that there's, a budget issue and there's a money issue, and obviously we need figures and we need appropriate estimates and all of that, and that can be like a money decision, which is more or less black and white, or at least as a balance sheet. But there's also the idea of adding, whether you would characterize it as a redundancy or characterize it as a safeguard or some sort of backup or an in case of, the idea of adding a feature to the existing system or to the developing system that would protect against a repetition of some of the emergencies that have happened in the past. I think in general it's a good idea. I think what I saw in emails from the coalition and the back and forths and the conversation here is that the idea that we might, offer some kind of, we can receive septage from elsewhere and that might supplement some sort of finances, that's a interesting little idea and that's debatable as to whether or not that's something that's good or bad or whatever. But I think it feels like that's largely beside the point. And I think that people got hung up on it. And I think it was frightening because given what the residents who live in that area have gone through, I don't blame them. That's horrifying to live in your home and to have to deal with that kind of stuff. It should not happen in 2026. It shouldn't happen in 1976. It certainly should be happening now. So, I don't, whether or not that's a valid idea in the future is neither here nor there at the moment. Adding a redundancy or an in case of or an emergency backup plan seems to me like something that we should genuinely pursue, especially if it is affordable. That's where we come back to the numbers, which I look forward to the workshop meeting and whenever we can get those numbers. But I would encourage all of us to, there's the idea of having levels of safeguarding and redundancy, and then there is reconciling it with the budget. And those are two different things, and I think the former is very important given what the residents of this village have gone through in the past few years.
May I just, since we are, if we are even to continue the discussion of the receiving station as a possibility, as a certainty, what have you, I would just like to, because otherwise it's moot, I would like to know if, as Perry shared, I attended the Wetlands Committee meeting, and my understanding from that meeting was that per the sewer team, that this is not a non-negotiable. Is that the case, that the board, the sewer team, the board, is that the case?
The idea of putting it in the preliminary engineering report is to look at it as a possibility, to understand the details of what it would take, what it would look like, whether or not it can be done without emitting any odors at all. That's part of the design process, which is a significant amount of what comes next. So if what you're asking is the receiving station in the plan 100%, no, of course not. It's just in there as something to look at as to whether or not it makes sense to do.
Yeah, my question is it foreclosed that this could come out? If we found out, having had our workshop, having heard from the engineer, having all of this, is at what point would we take Delaware? I'm trying to figure out where it is that we make this determination. Because as you say, we won't know until it's built whether we will, so I just...
We'll know before it's built because it has to be designed. So the final design will either include it or it won't. So the specific moment where we as a board would make that decision, we have time. It's going to take up to a year to design the details of the whole system.
And that's based on the funding we get, right? As
Yeah.
well. And so it's sort of like all these things are moving along at the same, there will be.
Yeah, so there's no one magic day, like by this day we have to decide, but there's going to be a general time frame. But that time frame is months away.
And I feel the only way to figure out a perspective on it is to continue going down with this process. Right?
Going down with this process.
To continue to understand what it potentially could be, what the costs, certainly the ongoing costs would be, and then see whether or not it made sense.
Well, that's enough words.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
All right, next item on the agenda is the tax receipts.
Oh, that's me.
That is you.
All right, July 2026.
6.
Something in the.
The top half
Oh,
has
these are just my notes.
have not changed at all. Received as of within the month of July, $1,393,960.18. Penalties and finance charges received $2,119.88. Outstanding as of 8/1/2026, $96,642.22, and that is from 44 parcels respectively submitted. Pay your taxes, everyone.
And as you said, that 96,000 includes penalties, correct?
I believe so. Well, the penalties are forever increasing, so
Gotcha.
as of right now, that's what's due to us. Next month is a different number.
Do we need to accept that report? No. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the school lighting project.
I'm sorry, just before we proceed with that, I
Mhm.
was late, so I don't know if there was a change made with the agenda, but I did have the affordability analysis that I would like to just,
Oh, I'm
share
sorry.
with you guys.
Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead and share. I guess my only perspective is it's what the cost will be is directly related to the grants that we get. And if we get all the grants that we have, we'll probably be in a good position to go ahead with the project. If we don't get all the grants, we will have to look at the project and make some adjustments. So I'm happy to spend a little bit of time, but I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this right now. But
Okay,
go
I
ahead.
appreciate it. Yeah, so we were talking because obviously this came out of the workshop where you had said that if we don't get enough grants, we will not be proceeding. So I just am trying to get a sense of what that enough means. So we talked about obviously the IMG and the WQIP, and we have the 2.5 county and state, and possibly from Congressman Ryan. So if we assume those things, then we're looking at development. And a question that I had specifically is what we consider affordable. And the table, I don't know if the AI generated table is making anyone nervous, but it's just the numbers based on what we were proposing with ROPCO.
So is your question related to, because obviously if those developments aren't going to go forward, then we would not include them in the assumption of capacity. At some point along the way, they are going to have to commit to capacity because they will be contributing to the capital.
Right.
And so if all of these projects say, you know what, we change our minds, we're not, that changes the dynamic of the project.
Sure.
And we obviously don't have that information at this point.
Okay, thank you for that, because I was going to ask, so what do we have? ROPCO is I have all of the, but I was looking up Anderson Commons, and records of Anderson Commons date back to 20...
They had an approved project 10 years ago.
And then it lapsed. And so where are they now, and how would I find...
So where they are now is, so they had an approved project 10 years ago, and they decided to wait until we had a sewer, because they knew we were working on a sewer project.
Okay. And they're the 53 unit that's...
Off Baxter Road.
Off Baxter Road, okay. And then Ross.
The Rosses speak to me periodically. They have a plan to develop. They are not particularly advanced in that plan, but that is their intention with that property.
Okay, okay. Yeah, and this here was just to give, I mean, I can walk through the table. It was just to give this, or try to understand for myself and maybe for the public as well, what we think of as affordable, since we said we would not be proceeding unless we got, enough grants. So I just have, just in the table, what phase 1 users pay today, and, whether we think that what ultimately we would like to do is get the fees for phase 2, like if we're trying to reach that. I also bring this up because we do have among our expected development affordable housing. And so that's why I put in there this 2% of the lowest quintile. Like for renters, homeowners in that bracket, who would be living in the affordable housing, that's half of their, if we're comparing with today's phase 1.
So I think there are a lot of things that need to be worked out before we have a full picture of what this might look like. Obviously, if RUPCO is looking to do affordable housing, they're going to be looking to make sure that the people who can purchase the homes can stay there. What that looks like, et cetera, that's to be worked out. We don't have that information today.
There was one thing that Fran just said, she said if we don't get the grants, we won't be proceeding. And I just wanted to just clarify that we would be proceeding, but the
Scale.
Project would be
the
different.
actual project will change according to the funding. It's not that it's not gonna
Right.
happen,
It's
because
just
we have a
the-
consent order that we have to do some work to, right?
Great.
Correct.
But
Thank
that it will change, and that's why these kind of, analyzing these numbers are hard, because everything is, we are moving forward and things are, it will be clarified as we move forward.
Right, but the only thing with these numbers, and maybe I could de-scarify them, it was exactly that. It's just my attempt to follow along with, okay, if we get these things, if we don't get and we get, like it wasn't, none of this is ever a gotcha. It's just to try and see, like, okay, so grants needed, and then if we get RUPCO and Anderson, these are numbers. If we get, it's,
I don't think it's gotcha, I don't know how useful it is to go that far down the logic, because we are still developing, and what the scope is, and what the funding is, and what projects are actually going to be developed. That will become clear as we move along. So that's just my,
Could I ask a obvious question,
Yeah.
just so it can be re-articulated to me in this moment, since we're talking about affordability, and as some of that has been contingent on tapping in further development, could it be re-articulated to me once again why we're not tapping in the existing grid as a means of those new users? I know that these infill could be affordable housing, but as well could
you mean the
the
village?
capacity.
what grid do you mean?
So they're in this project, there are a significant number of existing properties that are included.
Certainly.
So we've got, it goes to the west, it includes the school. To the north, it includes some extra properties up that way. It includes the southeast quadrant of the village, which is over the aquifer. So we do. And the opportunity to add these development projects, we know we need housing. And the other benefit to adding housing is it also expands the tax base for the village, which is also, that's a benefit for the entire village.
Certainly. I think maybe this is actually even a conversation that then relates to our upcoming zoning meeting, because I think I was having that epiphany when thinking about how to protect affordable housing throughout the village, which was related to some of our conversation as, which we remember. And thinking that if we use the grid that exists most, rather than building continuous single-family housing, but use the grid and tap in, though we are tapping in many that do exist, we're leaving a whole nother phase 3 that will have to happen. But if that were the next phase, that could be then built upward, ADU developed and supported for really protected
So
affordable housing.
one
So
possibility.
maybe that's part of the zoning conversation.
Yeah, and just to clarify, RUPCO's project, as last proposed, was 20 single-family homes and 20 apartments, effectively. Anderson Commons is townhomes. Ross is talking about townhouses, condos, something of that nature. So we're actually talking about very few single-family homes that are being considered in the development piece. If the development piece doesn't materialize, there's more of the village that could be added to the project.
Mhm.
So the initial project was set up so that it was a mix of adding a significant portion of the village, but also allowing for the additional development to happen.
Sure.
So that was the idea behind the project as it
But then in
was
theory,
designed.
even as you said, if these aren't guaranteed or something, there is the potential to
Mhm. Yep.
just
Add
to
some-
move those pipes.
Add some
As it were.
additional areas of the village.
Karen, can you speak to what the benefit is to other taxpayers to have more parcels and more development? Because I think people find development very scary.
And
Just the tax benefit.
and that's understandable, but if, just by having, if you have a piece of open land that now has even just a single-family home, it is now, it's added to the value of that property, and that it will be taxed at the assessed value, which will then add to the tax base, which just gives more of a base to cover the services that the village provides. I think that's what you're.
Yeah,
what you're
because one of
asking.
the issues with municipalities that we're facing is their benefits are going up, their electricity is going up, just like everybody else. All the costs are going up. And development sounds really scary, but it can actually help the tax base and help.
Which is why we're working so hard on the zoning amendment, so that we are, and focused currently on the northeast quadrant, so that we can encourage the development in a way that feels like we're just expanding what already is the village and not make it feel like a very different place. Just add more housing in a way that feels very much like the existing village as best we can. Sort of that's the idea behind it. So hopefully that's helpful. So Fran, I don't think from my standpoint, I don't think I'm prepared to say this is the number that is, above this, it's too high, and below this is too low. There's a lot more information to come over the next months that I would prefer to add into this conversation. I think the notion of what do we mean by affordability is a good one to ask, and I think it's a good one for us to rustle around in our heads and think about, but I don't think we're in a position as a board to say that's the number.
It's never, and when I bring things, it's never really about this is where we decided. It's just, I'm trying to, I don't know, maybe it's not received, but I think it's good. I think the public likes when we talk out loud, even if there's nothing resolved or that, it's just things they care about. And I like to try and bring things that.
I like having this discussion. I find these sort of generated, I just find them overwhelming because I just don't know what data is accurate, and I find that very difficult.
It's just because I don't want to spring conversation where I have these numbers. My idea of putting them on the agenda is so that, is so that you have a chance to then not feel like I'm springing anything, or these I put these on, I'm always good with my general business things, they're on the agenda. And if, I don't know if it's like when the mics are on or when the camera's on, but it literally says what it is. There's nothing scary or spooky or.
Is there anything else you'd like to share as it relates to this at this time?
I was only answering Malvika's question, no.
Okay. All right, so we were headed on to the lighting project, and I did want to, let me see if I can figure out how to do this. It's on the agenda. Give me 1 second, I didn't plan this very well. I'll get this on my screen, then I can get it.
School lighting,
I can share it with everyone.
that was the link.
All right. School lighting. School. Okay. So I'm now going to go back to Zoom. Where are you? See why I don't do this very often. Here we go. All right, I am now going to share my screen. I'll go to my browser tabs. That one. It's an application window. Why isn't it here? Files. Maybe I'll share my screen and see what happens, because I want to go to here. Are you all seeing that on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so my point in sharing this is on the school's website. I'll put this over here somehow. So they have an entire page related to the athletic field renovations. And there is a section about the lighting. They have information on the lighting pole, the lighting effect on the area. They also mention here that the lighting is dark sky compliant, which is, and actually I'll just read a little where it says, to be dark sky approved, it must satisfy the 5 principles for responsible outdoor lighting. All light should have a clear purpose. Light should be directed only to where it is needed. Light should be no brighter than necessary. Light should be used only when it is useful. Warmer color lights should be used where possible. So they have a frequency of use section. They're talking about the installation. Looks like it's expected to be installed in September. Section of further questions. And then the pole information, it talks about the specific poles, their size, etc. So and then this section over here is from the presentation by the folks, I think, who are providing the lighting. And I think if anyone has any specific questions at this point, I would highly recommend that you go to the school to ask your questions. I have found the school to be very responsive to residents who have gone to the school and spoken to them about their issues. I did have one resident who lives right there who was very, very concerned. He met with the school and he came back to me and said, you know, they answered all my concerns. So I would encourage you to take a look at the website, and an easy way to find it is if on the village's website, today's agenda, there's a link to the school's website, but it also, what is it? It's, I can't see it, so I can't tell you. The school, on the school website, it has, this is the field project. Let me go back up. Yeah, so under our district, capital improvements and initiatives, the athletic field renovation. So they have a great deal of information here, and anything that might not be there. As I say, I have found the school to be very responsive to residents who reach out and ask their questions. I think they have made several adjustments based on the concerns of the local residents. And so, as I say, I think, yes, there will be tall poles, and yes, they will have lights, but I also think they are not the stadium lights of old. They are using the newer technology that allows them to direct the lights straight down onto the field. It's also one of the reasons why it has to be so tall, because that's how they get it to only go down on the field and not spill out beyond. So that's really what I wanted to share. I did reach out to the superintendent, and she directed me to here and to encourage anyone who has questions or concerns to please reach out to the school.
May I?
Please.
Thanks for sharing this, and I also want to commend the school for putting this together. I think it's really helpful. As I know, I've been the stickiest stick in the mud about this. I would be remiss not to point out that the thing I noticed is that in their intended usage, it's mitigated by field health, not necessarily by community. There's no community concern necessarily put into it verbatim, though I know that that's in their heart. I would love to see that perhaps in rhetoric, honestly, just as that is perhaps my concern here, is that that is not necessarily of top priority.
Where is that, sorry, Perry?
It's probably here under frequency of use.
Yes, exactly. That
It talks
it's
about,
centered around like the health of the field, which is totally legitimate. I totally get that, even from a fiscally responsible place. But as one who wants to be concerned about the community and environmental impact potentially, would want to see just some sort of intentional consideration of that in their plan particularly.
Do you want to email them, Perry, and
I
ask
would be
them
happy
if
to.
they,
I didn't want to, at first I knew the conversation was happening between, I didn't want to overstep, but I would be happy to. Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
No, I was just, if you feel like that would be helpful for them to call out and speak to, maybe that's a helpful suggestion just to make to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they might have a clear answer for that they could put in a bullet point.
Certainly. No, I'm happy to do that on personally. putting that on my to-do list this week, thank you. And then secondly, I will just always support the idea of having a committee that could, or some sort of facilitatory force between the various municipalities, especially us and the school board, as this new project unfolds in its usage. There's an official means of communication to mitigate the community concern around that. I will always support that idea, but I know that's been a tepid one and thrown out. But once again, I'm bringing it up.
Are you volunteering to be
Well,
board
I-
liaison?
I will take on as many committees as you get.
Well, what I would say is the school district, like the village, has public meetings. And I periodically will go to the school board meeting just to sort of see what they're working on. Every once in a while, I will make public comment depending on what it is or whatever. Everyone is always welcome and encouraged to go to the school board meetings. And I would say each of us can speak. You know, you're all trustees. You can say, I'm a trustee of the village. I don't speak for the village, but I speak as someone concerned in the community. You're always welcome to do that. I don't know that we need a formal liaison, but if that's something that that the board would like to add, they have 2 meetings a month. It's a lot of
It's
meetings.
up to you, I would love it.
So-
I would love it.
So we'll let you
Consider my
ponder.
capacity
We'll let
that
you.
about,
Yeah,
to
I
be
was going to
totally
say we'll let
honest.
you
But I'm
ponder
going to
that.
start with the first conversation that I'm going to circle back to this week, and then continue on with that committee.
I randomly emailed the Dutchess County website people because I needed a shorter URL for the family services. It was a very long URL, and they made me a shortcut. And I was just amazed that you
Nice.
can reach out to people and ask, and often they will, follow through. Like it's so
Mhm.
it's a worthy thing. To,
Mhm.
'cause-
Absolutely, absolutely. And as I say, I think that's an observation to have them add to their website that they would consider local concerns as it relates to, because I think there'll be a mix. I think when they have events, I think for a lot of people it'll be a wonderful gathering of the community, and for some folks it'll be a nuisance. So as with most things, it won't be great for everyone, but it will be an opportunity to see how it goes.
Well, I will follow up with them this week, and then I'll circle back with you all at the workshop.
Okay. Any other comments on this item? Okay, well, I'm going to stop sharing. All right, the next item is the Kratom County ban. I will say that, we obviously talked about it at our last meeting, and we had some very impassioned and heartfelt testimonies as to the dangers of kratom and 7-OH. And this, and obviously there are those who feel very, very strongly that should be an entire ban. The law that is actually being voted on tonight by the Dutchess County Legislature is not a complete and total ban. From my standpoint, the good news is it's moving and it's beginning. And I think the opportunity, it doesn't mean that the advocacy needs to stop. But I also think that there are those who advocate for the leaf. And so I think that's an interesting balance that I don't feel that I have the expertise to know enough about this particular substance. I don't know, Craig, do you want to say anything about?
Well, there's I'd love to say quite a bit. I
It's
think
7:40,
it
just
is,
saying.
I think it's stunning to me.
And actually, before you say that, I just want to set the stage as to why I'm asking you, because you actually have an educational background and have done an enormous amount of research as it relates to various substances, et cetera. So this is not just you as the rest of us, it is you with expertise that speaks to it, which is why I'm asking you.
Thank you, and this might turn up in a paper that I'm now considering writing for peer review. but that's gonna be like a 2-year process. But I am, in doing a little preliminary research, I'm stunned to see the lack of science done on the alkaloids in this plant, given how potent they are and how clearly dangerous they can be, but also how potentially remedial they can be, depending on who's taking them. There's no education out there on this. Very few people understand what kratom is. What I find interesting is a comparison to something else that's culturally used in the Middle East called khat, which is a shrub that is chewed in Middle Eastern countries, which is deeply part of the culture. It is completely illegal in most European countries and the United States. The reason being it contains something called cathione, which is what's in bath salts, which a few years ago, if anybody was watching any news, you'd see somebody running down a highway in Florida talking to alligators and running in front of cars, and they would say, well, they're on bath salts. That's cathione. And because of that, khat, which is a natural product, is completely illegal. On the other hand, you have kratom, which is, the FDA was very reluctant to ban it a few years ago when it started to gain notoriety, because a lot of people were using it in lieu of using opiates, which, you trace this back to a huge social issue, which goes all the way back to the Sacklers and to Purdue and to OxyContin, which is literally Percocet with time release, but nobody ever knew that because of the name recognition, and et cetera, et cetera. There are a lot of drug problems, and this is just, it's the tip of an iceberg. So locally speaking, number one, the people who, and I've been getting emails all day, and I intend to respond to them, but a couple of them came from folks who, chimed in earlier. I mean, these are tragedies, and it just shows you this is an enormously powerful thing that is being sold at a gas station. So that's where I have a real problem. At the very least, it should be behind a secure door like the dispensaries are forced to have for cannabis. And cannabis has its own share of problems. You have a lot of people who've never smoked pot in their lives, 70 years old, they take a 10 milligram gummy for osteoarthritis, and then they're in the hospital throwing up and asking their doctor why their heart rate's 125. And anybody who's been to a number of Grateful Dead shows will tell you, well, I know where you went wrong. So, it's kratom is too potent to simply be out there. We also have gas stations, and I don't want to single them out, they're business people making their living, but we have gas stations that pack refrigerators with energy drinks that contain 200 milligrams of caffeine that 14-year-olds are buying routinely. I remember walking into one of our local businesses that has a free giveaway on a Wednesday, and it was a Wednesday, and there were kids walking in, and the clerk behind the counter is saying, well, what'll it be today, a Monster energy drink, or this energy drink, or that? And I'm thinking, there is a connection here between this and between every summer getting news reports from high schools where kids drop dead on the football field practicing for the upcoming season, and nobody's thinking, look in their bags and see what they drank right before. So I'm speaking very generally about the problem with chemicals and stimulants and drugs that are available to anybody, that are being sold in places that anybody can go in and shop. And meanwhile, alcohol and cannabis are restricted, as they should be, and these things ought to be restricted too. The FDA is not doing its job. The problem here is the NIH and the FDA. That kratom needs to be studied. It needs to be funded by the NSF, the NIH, the FDA needs to take an interest in this. This is clearly not stuff we're going to do here in a 2,000-person village. And, you have, our board trying to do the best we can. I'm all for the Dutchess County ban. I'd love to see, I would have at this point, I would have zero problem with the village saying, don't sell it, period. I would be interested to hear advocates for the leaf, for what we're calling the whole leaf product, for the non-adulterated, non-distilled product. Like, what are the positives? I am sure that there are recovering opiate addicts who would say, this has made me a functional human being again in society. That is what I've read. It would be interesting to see local people make that case, although it's with stigmas, it's difficult to come to a public forum and say, well, I use it, therefore I'm going to speak out for it, and meanwhile you have moms coming on virtually who have lost their kids to this substance. So that's a very hard ask. I would be interested to hear about advocacy to maintain some access to it, but I would love to change the way that we permit access to it. Being in a gas station is, and with all due respect to our gas station owners, I think they're making their livings, but there has to be some kind of safeguard, because I have a middle schooler. I know other people who have kids who are going to be in middle school soon, and middle school is where it starts to happen, where there's that curious mix of independence and complete ignorance about how the world works, and it can be lethal. And then you get to high school, and you're driving, and there's a lot more booze and pot and everything else. So, point being, where we are now is not acceptable. This is too potent a substance to be sitting behind a counter at the place where you fill up your car. I like what the legislature is doing. I think they could potentially go further. I imagine they're reluctant to do so because of potential benefits, but there needs to be, and this is my battle cry on a lot of things, there needs to be education. No one is educating anybody about cell phone use, electric bikes and motorbikes and all that, social media, and all of these substances that are available within arm's reach to kids as young as 12, 13 years old. So I think it starts with education. Whatever I can do, I would do. I already had an offhand conversation with the principal of the high school to say, I'd be happy to, I used to teach at RPI about technology and youth and social media and things that are within my field. But I would love to bring that to younger kids who are exposed constantly online to all sorts of influence and who have nobody guiding them through. So, I grew up in the 70s and 80s when Nancy Reagan was saying just say no to drugs, and somebody with a frying pan was telling me that the frying egg was my brain on drugs. We all knew that that wasn't true. You got to college, you smoked a joint, you realized I'm not dead. So that all went out the window. There's a better way to educate. We need to be doing that. I don't know what we can do at the village level. I'm happy to do whatever I can. Pamphlets, posters, whatever. I do like that the gas station took down the Kratom sign. I would love to see Kratom sales move to a dispensary, not be available at the gas stations.
So I'm wondering if it sounds, as I say, I am expecting this county law to pass tonight. I'm wondering if we as a village, what we could do as a board would be perhaps to advocate for additional study and additional restrictions associated with how Kratom gets sold. Because I think those kinds of, I believe that the state legislature passed a law that I believe is in law, that they will have to add something to the label that says that it's dangerous. So that begins the process of education. But perhaps we as a board can at least send a proclamation that we, or whatever the right, or a letter to the county legislature saying that we appreciate the efforts that they've made on this law, and we hope they will continue to evaluate and estimate to determine that this is as far as, that perhaps they consider going farther. And perhaps we send that to our state representatives and our federal representative to say this is an important issue and you ought to look at it and you ought to fund it.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
The statement that they made where there's no dosage, like there's no, one of the mothers said that there's no dosage thing. Is that true? That you can't know how strong something is or whether it will be?
So without the regulatory process, I know one of them mentioned that you can't really regulate, or regulating isn't enough. And in the wake of losing a child, I don't blame her for saying something like that. The thing that regulatory does right, and I say this not just as a scholar who studies regulatory on psychoactive drugs, but also as somebody who worked in the pharmaceutical industry and dealt directly with what was called the OPDP, the FDA's office that kind of enabled public language about drugs. There's no standardization here. You have companies that have individual relationships with farmers in Indonesia and Southeast Asia, and they're taking product and they're producing it in whatever way suits their manufacturing needs. And just like the cannabis industry, every person who innovates a different thing gets to market that innovation. So, cannabis, when I was in Binghamton in the 1990s, was something you grew in your closet and you smoked it after drying it. Now cannabis comes in 48 different forms, including cherry flavor, and you better not leave it around or your kids are gonna start looking real strange. So, but cannabis is still regulated by the Office of Cannabis Management in New York.
And there's doses.
And there are doses,
Yeah.
and it is standardized, and they
Yeah.
have to get things tested. There, to the best of my knowledge, there was very little understood about kratom. Even the science on kratom is
Yeah.
suspect,
Yeah,
because they talk about how it stimulates the same receptors as opiates.
yeah.
That's not necessarily true. So we don't really understand its mechanism of action. The problem is, relevant to your question, is there is no standardized, if you buy one brand of kratom and you take another brand of kratom, there's no consistency.
And you only
Nothing
know how it
guaranteed.
affects you and might be
That's it.
deadly, and that's.
And you have to be doing what, historically, people like Alexander Shulgin, who made MDMA into the Club Dre ecstasy, but he was a serious chemist. He was trained, albeit by himself, but he was very good at it. He was a trained scholar in how to experiment with drugs. And so he did, and he documented everything meticulously. The regular person walking off the street into a gas station buying kratom isn't gonna take what's called a museum dose just to see how it makes them feel. They're gonna think that they're okay, and they're gonna... So no, there's no standardization, there's no regulatory, there's nothing guaranteeing that one product is gonna be the same as another, and you're seeing the results pop up with these people who
It's very
are
scary.
using kids. It's terrifying. I've already had conversations with my son, who knows how far that goes.
Yeah.
Um,
Because there is something, to go through, there is something to, when you get alcohol, there's a percentage on the can that you
Yeah.
get. And you can.
And it's
how much
highly
caffeine-
regulated, alcohol in particular, and it's got its own agency in the federal government.
Yeah.
You have to be on label. Same thing with your prescription meds, although even prescription meds, I have issues with generics because they allow a lot of different admixtures. But regardless, there's no regulation over this, which is shocking to me because it is a powerful psychoactive drug that has, we spent all this time making marijuana the villain of drug control. And kratom's been here forever, just it's obscure, so people, now it's getting famous and that's gonna be a real problem.
Well, so it sounds like any advocacy that we can do, or that the public can do about regulating it and studying it so that
Yeah, we need the NIH and the
Standardization.
FDA to do their job, and as a very small municipality, I don't know how much of a signal we can send, but we should send whatever
I
signal.
think we can add our voice to
Yeah.
the mix.
Yeah.
But just, I'm going back to the Dutchess County is banning the 7-OH.
Yes, they have a bill.
There is people that are saying that we should do a full ban, and legally, and other people are saying that we should do a ban to have it behind the counter. Are we legally able to do that as a village?
I would have to ask the question specifically that way. I think
Yeah.
we could, potentially.
Can't we, I know it was related to something else, but can't we go stricter? We
Good.
just
Yes.
can't go looser
Yeah,
than the
Correct.
regulations?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what the lawyer said, something that
That was
there are
one-
zoning loopholes
one
around
way.
that, right? Or
Not
something like that, or
loopholes,
just something to
that's-
consider in terms of that, yeah.
Yeah,
That's all I'm
that's-
saying,
But
yeah.
nothing precludes us from taking action as a board. And I remain, as I did on July 13th when I brought the item, I remain in favor of legislative action from this board.
Were you at the meetings with the lawyer when we discussed it, Fran?
I read his email.
No, but you weren't at the meeting when we discussed it, right?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It was a virtual, you
Because-
mean the virtual meeting?
Yeah, there were two virtual meetings. I came in on the conversation, anyway, we're not supposed to, but specifically what I understood
Mhm.
was that the issue is with enforcement, with the ability to enforce the law, because there's something about the testing, and so like we could make a law, but in order to make it that it actually can be applied and enforced, like to make it real, it has to be like zoning rather than.
He said that that was a way that you could get around the assumption, to get around challenge based on preemptive. That's specifically what he was talking about, and he wrote that in writing. See, with lawyers, I don't do vocal. Like, if you're dealing with a lawyer, you should deal with things in writing,
No,
so
but
it's
we are
not my
having,
memory.
from what I understood, it was the
Mhm.
enforcement issue that is difficult. Like it's, how do you prove that what's on the what's on the shelf
No.
is,
That's right.
So I'm gonna
Yeah.
recommend, I mean, this is obviously,
Yeah.
this is an important but a big issue. that if it's going to be truly effective, it would be well beyond the village of Red Hook. Let's see what the county legislature does. It's on the agenda for this evening. And so I assume they will pass it, but we don't know that. So let's check that out. And then we can continue to discuss whether or not we want to add a local law that makes it stricter here in the village of Red Hook. And what the legal pieces of that and how we would enforce it, and it would end up being a civil matter rather than a criminal matter, etc. So I think those details we can work out, and I think over the next period of time we can look at what we can consider for the village of Red Hook.
I think it's good to have had it on the agenda as well. But to Craig's point about wanting to hear more from local, I mean, we heard from people on Zoom today. There are many people in the community. Today alone, I have 6 emails. Granted, one of them I think was also on the Zoom call, all over the country. So there is advocacy both for the outright. Several of the people who email with personal losses have a desire for an outright ban. As the mayor said, that may not be appropriate for us. But I think, there's the opportunity to be leaders. And as per the executive director of NICOM, Barbara Van Epps, had given her opinion that there's no indication that the state intends to preempt, to stop municipalities from doing what they were going to do. We can really decide how restrictive we wish to be if we decide to go the local law route.
Okay, great discussion.
Thank you.
on an important issue that I think, again, I would encourage everyone to consider their advocacy well beyond the village of Red Hook, because the best solution will be something that's going to be statewide, countrywide, related to the FDA and standardization, et cetera, which is not something that we can affect as a small village. Doesn't mean we shouldn't raise our voice.
Yeah, and we can always do things.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a resolution to authorize the purchase of a dump truck for the DPW. I will tell you that our DPW foreman, Jake Smith, has been talking to me for a little while about the need for an additional truck. Chips, we tend to use chips for paving. And the next road on the list for paving is Maysland. But there's the likelihood of 2, potentially 3 water hookups coming up in the next few months. So what Jake has proposed is that we push off, because we don't want to pave and then have to cut it to make a water hookup, is that we postpone the paving until the spring, where we'll get a new allotment of CHIPS funding. But in the meantime, we can use CHIPS funding for equipment purchase. And so what you have in your packet is a resolution to do that. It also shows it has 3 quotes for dump trucks. And 2 of them are not available until first quarter of next year at the earliest. One of them is available now. And actually, it is with an equivalent calculation, it is actually the lowest price as well. So I am asking for, does anyone have any questions? No, I'm not hearing any questions. Anybody, I'd take a motion to authorize this purchase.
I'm happy to second.
Okay, and this is resolution number 42. 42, great. All right, so Perry, you seconded. And any further questions, comments?
Just to say, I briefly chatted with Jake, Department of Public Works, about it. He expressed how it was to be used and all of the magnificent ways it was going to benefit the department, as well as streamline some of the operations that they have at the moment. So I just think it's really a wonderful thing as our Public Works Department continues to grow and do its work.
I will say that every prior piece of equipment that Jake has requested and received, he has put to incredibly good use. So I have every confidence that this truck. The other is the current truck is a 2014, so at some point it is going to die. And so this would that would really leave us in the lurch. So this gives us a little bit of backup in that case.
He seems like he knows how to shop around too. He got some good deals.
He
That's
does.
I mean, one of the things that's so great about Jake is, I mean, among many things, is that he's a mechanic, right? Like, he knows his vehicles, he takes care of things, we save so much money because he does all the maintenance and, yeah, we're very lucky.
I need to learn.
Yeah, I'm gonna second it. Yeah, I think he's- I'm all for Jake.
All right, so I'm gonna do a roll call. Craig?
Aye.
Mel Corca?
Aye.
Perry?
Aye.
Fran?
You didn't need a roll call. I
I know, but, you know, I did it anyway. Jake will appreciate it. So, thank you very much, and Jake thanks you for sure. Okay, next item on the agenda is the Elizabeth Street flooding. As you heard, this is not a new issue. The village has been aware of this issue. I think it is getting worse. The paving of the chocolate factory definitely has, and I don't know if they've done recent additional paving, but the way, first of all, the chocolate factory is on a slope, and they have arranged their paving so it all angles towards the one outlet. And that outlet, it's really sort of right at the curve, is where all the water congregates. There are multiple catch basins that were added there many years ago as an attempt to mitigate the issue.
Is that what those drains are down on Elizabeth? They're like forward.
Dry wells, sorry, dry wells catch basins. No, they're dry
I was
wells.
just curious what that
They
is.
don't go around.
I went over to check it out a bit ago.
There
I
are-
was- yeah.
I don't know exactly how they're laid out, and Fran, I know you were over there, so you may remember how, because Jake has explained it and I can't remember, but there are quite a few dry wells there in an attempt to facilitate the draining of it. But it's also at a low point in the village, so the groundwater, you know, that's the water table, so at a certain point it doesn't go anywhere. The easement that we had is no longer in effect, and the pipe that was along that easement it was either removed or destroyed or something, so that doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
But I think that there's, well, Fran, I know, why don't you, if you want to talk about from your perspective at this point, because I have some thoughts on it too.
Yeah, okay, so, and my highway report is, so it is something that, that Jake and I have been talking about, and then Mr., please remind me, I wasn't sure if it's Balachik, it's Balasic?
Belichick.
Belichick, I was saying, yeah,
I was
okay,
wrong,
Belichick.
sorry.
Okay, so
That's
Mr.
our fault.
Belichick and Mr. Ministeri
Thank you.
had, of course, walked, it's so bad. When we had the thunderstorm, was it Friday, Saturday, whatever. Anyway, Mr. Ministeri lives just on the corner there. He's the first property, if you're going from the chocolate factory towards Thompson, he's the first house there, and his whole lawn is underwater. And he sent a video, poor man, sent a video of a truck going by. I mean, I grew up in Lagos and in Lagos, Nigeria, and there's some not so great roads. And I was like, this should not be happening here. So I did go. So Jake had sent me a photo, and what is interesting to me, Jake is very passionate. He has very strong ideas of who is at fault here. But there's the chocolate factory potential runoff. They have no permeable surfaces at the chocolate factory, but also we have grading issues. So from my perspective, obviously there's an issue and has long known to be an issue. But what I would say is that as a village, we need to get someone, an engineer, who can go out, and obviously we pay for this, but go out and actually diagnose where the issue is. Is it a code enforcement issue? If so, we're knocking on the property owner's door. Is it, something has to give, and I think the healthiest place to begin is whose is it? And if it's us, if it's, then we look into putting this on a schedule, and maybe it's CHIPS money, pave, whatever it is, but the conversation has to start somewhere. And it's been an issue, but why don't we at least try.
If I may as well, oh, sorry, you said that you had
Go
some
ahead.
thoughts as well.
No, go ahead.
So I definitely agree, I live in the neighborhood, I think this is definitely an issue. I know there's a parcel as well that's detached from any sort of access the village owns. And
That may be you were referencing Central
maybe that's
Hudson.
the Central
so
Hudson
that may
property. I
be
think
that.
there are
in the back.
creative
So
ideas.
It's an odd triangle in the back.
Sorry, I'm not articulating myself well. I agree that we should figure out who truly is, say, at fault, so as a means of figuring out how to move forward. And then I also have some creative ideas if we want to begin trying to figure out implementing solutions. But I don't know exactly the best mechanisms to do that. I support this, is all I'm really trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing being, if you were going to, because I know that you do have a background in, in landscaping, and that could be the case, but why would it not be that, okay, so you remediate some area, but that wasn't the issue in the first place. So then you have wherever the runoff is coming from, or you have an overwhelming, climate change, and it's just not getting better, so like, it would seem to me from a, again, cost benefit perspective, I don't know how much can we find out from Delaware or find out from someone what it would take to have a full team come out, or I mean it's a small village, and come out and let us know what's going on, because it's something solvable in my view. It's just who is solving it.
It's just cost and time, that's all.
Well, yeah,
As
cost
with
and
most
time.
issues.
And so today is a day, and money is money.
I just wanted to go back to that is, one of the issues is that the water table is so close in this area. The same thing is with the pond behind the library. That's the water table. So it's like, there's flooding, but it's also very low, which is also why the sewer expansion going to that area is a priority, because this is like a worsening thing.
So I have actually spoken with our building department to ask if there are any potential code violations, if when they did pave, if they did it in a way that we can go back and say you needed to do it differently or what have you. Also have begun to ask the question of our village attorney as to what our possibilities are.
Great.
And so having also had a variety of conversations about this issue, I would be happy to take this on, gather the information from our building department and from our village attorney and our engineer, and see what the best path forward would be, what our options are, and bring it to the next. It probably won't be till the September meeting, but I would bring it to the next meeting. I am happy to proceed on that again, having started, arguably restarted the process of how do we address this issue and what are the options that we have in moving forward. So happy to take that on. My guess is that we will be able to make the so for example, the bioswale or the planting at the bottom, I don't think that's going to fix the problem, but I think it might be an additional help. So I think to me, it's let's look at all the possibilities, because I don't think there's just one solution.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting is because the chocolate factory is on a pitch, behind it actually goes to village property that has the brush. And Jake has said, have it rain back there. The problem is you have to get the drain pipes to go that way, which is a construction project, so.
And just to remind, I'm just remembering our conversation that we had, this was when I was first elected as well, with Dutchess County Soil and Water, that there's also a village-wide imperative to take care of this issue, because any stormwater that we can mitigate from that edge of the village as it flows this way will benefit the village at large, because of just the general topography, then also our unique piping system, etc. So it's an important issue at large, not just for the immediate residents, which it certainly is, but then also for its larger effects too.
But there was a mention of the St. Chris flooding, that has gotten better, right? Everyone's noticed that when you drive through, it has gotten better.
Yeah, it was bad a couple years ago.
Yeah, but I do think-
haven't really noticed it lately.
I think there was some repair that happened with one of those.
That had to be
Dry
recent, because I seem to remember traffic being blocked
Yeah, but it's
there
been,
recently.
this year, we've had heavy storms. I
Right,
mean, like,
so
I
the
see
last
it
one that we got like
Within,
9
half
inches,
an hour,
like
so
nothing bad
it's
happened.
Nothing bad.
I will say anecdotally, my closest friend, my son's godfather, is a landscape architect, level 3 with the city. I mention that because that's the highest level, he's been there for a long time. And we were up here because a mutual friend bought a house in Port Ewan. And we noticed that because they never asked, the first time it rained, they realized the entire front of their house was underwater, much like the properties on Fisk. And he was up there visiting, and he diagnosed the problem in about 2 minutes. And it's just, a matter of having like an experienced landscape architect can see, I mean, and there are certain issues that are going to be, present that are going to be particular to the situation, but I feel like, this is the kind of thing where it should be able to be, with somebody with experience should be able to, hey, I can make a phone call and he can come visit for the weekend and take a walk. But I'm sure that there must be somebody locally with the experience to say, like, this is why it's happening, and these are the 4 or 5 things you can do to mitigate the problem, and obviously then it's a bureaucratic matter of figuring out what you can do financially, but
There is an issue
should
when
be
you're at
a-
the water table.
Yeah.
Draining is really hard when you're at the water table.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we can't fix it, I'm just saying that this is an issue when you're in the low spot of the village. It's really tough.
Which, I mean, I don't think that we're gonna find that there's a magic, anything magic going on. It's literally all of the water, both on the pavement of the chocolate factory, off all the buildings, it all gets directed to that one spot at the bottom. And because it's close to the water table, it builds up and it just collects there. So if a lot of it can be diverted into other areas, or it can at least be diverted into the ground so that it slowly works its way through the ground so that it's not adding to, the water table at that spot.
So it's a not insignificant engineering solution needed.
I mean, it may be again, simple isn't necessarily cheap, but it could be adding some drywalls to various spots in the chocolate factory in their parking. I mean, that, and some of it is wood. I mean, it's all angled to go forward, and so paving is of course expensive, but if there would be a way to collect water and direct it out the back, that would, again, it would alleviate, it's not going to alleviate the entire problem, there's still going to be water that collects at the bottom, but if we can get rid of most of it, that will eliminate a significant, and that would then allow a bioswale or plantings there to be more effective because there's less to gather, for example. So I don't think there's any magic answer. I think, and look, it's the combination of all the water being, of all that whole space directed to the one spot plus the water table. But that I think is something I know that Delaware has looked at it, and so I don't know if they would be able to say relatively quickly, if you did this or that would help to mitigate.
No, but I'd like to, it seems like we are collectively intent on committing towards some kind of steps towards.
And I would say there's always the balance of we need to do something that's in the best interest of the village, and it does put our road at risk.
Yeah.
And that, there is the health and safety of people who are driving along that
Or
area.
walking.
But I will say, to your point, the Garden Street, and there was a fix, there was a blockage that was fixed that enables, so it still collects there, and the drain it's an 8-inch pipe, and it probably needs to be a bigger pipe so the water can go through faster. But it now goes through much more efficiently, so it doesn't stay backed up for very long. I think the last big storm, maybe half an hour later, it was pretty well
Yeah,
dissipated.
it's a noticeable difference.
Yeah, so at least there's been some progress there.
In terms of village-wide benefit, I don't mean to propose too many committees, and I'm not saying that I am at this moment, but it does feel as though there should be perhaps a village-wide stormwater mitigation initiative at some point, perhaps, that this would be a part of.
That would do.
That would assess issues like this, stormwater flooding, but throughout the village at large.
Like an engineer, like a volunteer engineer, or like people with engineering experience who would want to.
I guess, I suppose, yeah.
Or
I haven't fully visualized it, but I just see it as some sort of future.
Some
that I
of
think
it also-
doesn't matter.
Thing for a pond owner to propose, Barry.
Okay, so just so for Karen, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Climate Smart Community Task Force, when, you know, the notion of understanding where your stormwater issues are, that's something that can be done by, you know, people just observing, for example. I mean, I think, you know, the idea of understanding where the issues are and documenting that is a good idea. I think that, I'm not sure we're ready for another committee at this point, but I think the notion of, I mean, this is one of the things. I mean, we are a small municipality and we have all the issues. And we can't address all of them because we have to prioritize. And so I think prioritizing the specific issue that we know is a problem is a great place to start.
Okay, just so I have us clear for September, because I also have, oh, and I also wanted to mention, and maybe Jake mentioned, so Jake and I had a meeting with Brian Coffin, who's the NICOM Legislative Director, who was bringing to our attention, although I'm sure several have heard of this EFC program, which is new, and unfortunately the deadline passed in June, but it's something, since we're talking about prioritizing, it's something we can look towards for next year, which is the stormwater mitigation. They have a whole pot of money for that. I mean, that's the tricky thing, we're small, they have all this money, but it's, you know, it's not the easiest thing to access, but anyway.
For studies.
Usually, they're not always paying for planning, and so part of the, you know, I think we have some work to do before we be in a position to even consider applying for a grant, because we need to know what we're asking for. So I think sort of gathering the information, putting it together is the step we need for right now.
Okay, so you had lawyer, this is September, just so I'm.
It'll be the information from the building department, the village attorney, and the engineer.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is the DEC forestry grant.
Oh, yes, thank you, that's me. And
Yeah, now you made some changes from what you had sent earlier, and I'd just like you to speak to that, because I
Yes, sure.
haven't figured out what the changes are.
Yes, and it was only in the, do you have
I
the
think
older, okay,
I'm not
think
sure.
Jen,
It says
did they
red
go
at
in
the top,
boxes?
which
Yeah,
is
they have
the-
it. Red's the new one.
Yes.
Oh,
I
okay,
think I
oh,
did,
thank you
yeah.
so much, thank you. Yes, okay, so then you have, I have mine on my computer because I. Oh, really? Oh, thank you, because I didn't go to my box, so.
Oh, Dana, maybe in your box.
Because I said, don't worry about it, so, yeah, if it's not here,
It's
don't
in your
worry, I
box.
have it on my thing here, so I'll just quickly look away and then. Yes, so the only changes was I added in the partners, okay, yes, so if you see there, I can read it out, it takes 2 seconds, but, you know, sometimes when I read things verbatim, I will, so that.
Yeah, so it's more that you should make changes, and I had looked through the one you sent,
Okay.
and I just, because I got this one at the last minute, I haven't had a chance to
Yep.
see what changes you made.
There are no changes in the operative, it's just to recognize, whereas the application is strengthened by a coalition of community partners, Cornell University's Urban Horticulture Institute, the Bard Arboretum, the Red Hook Public Library, and the Bard College Office of Sustainability, who will support community education and outreach around the village's public trees, and whereas.
Before you continue, so all of these partners, it's specifically related to education?
Education and outreach, publicity.
Okay.
So they're gonna promote, or they're gonna,
Host their own programming.
they're gonna do programming around it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And whereas this application carries forward more than 20 years of community forestry led by Brenda Cagle, the longest and still serving officer of the Village Green Committee. And that's all the changes in the submission, so it just has the same authorization. The board authorizes the submission of an application to the New York State DEC Urban and Community Forestry Grant Round 17 for a tree inventory, assessment, and community forest management plan for the village of Red Hook. Number 2, preparation. The application shall be prepared by Trustee Ipu in partnership with the Village Green Committee. 3, submission. The board designates Mayor Smythe as the village's SFS authorized representative. For this grant, upon receipt of the prepared application, the mayor shall execute the 3 required state certifications and submit the completed application to the state no later than the state's deadline of 2 p.m. on August 12th, 2026. For there's no match, no local match is required, and this resolution commits no matching village funds. And 5, this resolution shall take effect immediately.
Can I, oh, you go ahead.
No, my only request is that you don't give me the high sign at 1 p.m. on Wednesday, because I'm in the middle of a meeting at that point,
I
so.
would never
give me
do that,
time.
Karen,
Just-
no, seriously.
No, I mean, obviously,
You'll have it
I'm-
before 5 p.m. tomorrow.
But that
That's great.
speaks to my question, this is like very specific in what the mayor has to do. We don't normally do that in.
That is the.
that's okay, that's fine.
Standard for mayor.
Basically, it's the process of, Fran will put the
Yeah,
detail.
no, I know,
in.
it's not normally the format that we do, so I'm just.
It's true. No, that's fair. I mean-
Interesting, thing to so specifically call it out like that. Anyway.
I mean, in another, it would be the board authorizes the mayor to submit the grant, would be the simple way to say that. Any other questions regarding the grant? The minimum grant is $50,000, which I don't know is listed here. It's a substantive grant ask, and so it will be. It'll be interesting to see, and obviously if we're lucky enough to get the grant, we can review it at that time. We can choose as a board, we have to formally accept it, so if there's something about it that is
Unacceptable.
concerning, then we always have the opportunity to not accept the grant. There may be conditions or what have you.
But aren't we saying that we're authorizing the submission here?
We're authorizing
I
the
think it's
submission,
great, but
we're not
the-
authorizing the acceptance.
Or the acceptance of it, I see what you're
Yes,
saying.
that's
Okay,
what I
got it, okay.
Because
This is exciting.
if it works, it's great.
It's good this department is too. Good
I
job.
have no idea how hard I've worked on this, but thank you.
Okay, any other questions? This would be resolution 41, 43, sorry, yeah, sorry. May I have a motion?
I'll make that motion. Thank you.
Fran, second?
Second.
Craig? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Great. The next item that we added to the agenda was just setting the next zoning meeting. I had proposed that we would have our next meeting the day of our workshop, same time frame, 1 to 3, and so that would be the 24th. We need to, because it's a public meeting, we need to publicly notice it. I would ideally like to set a meeting in September as well, but I think it'll depend on how far we get through the questions.
I thought August was the 28th. Or are you talking about September now?
Nope, talking about August. 24th is the Monday.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I had, 28th.
28th is a Friday.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. You had said that earlier, that worked for me.
Yes, may I have a motion to set a special meeting to review the zoning amendment for 1 to 3 on August 24th?
So moved?
Thank you, Mel Cork, a second.
Second.
Thank you, Craig. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Oh, sorry,
Abstentions?
I should have.
No,
wait,
no
I didn't
opposed,
see
I
here
just-
if you
yeah,
didn't,
yeah, no, I
if you're
just-
unable to, are you unable to attend?
I don't know yet because I haven't pulled out, but it's okay. Do I have to vote?
No, you don't have to vote. Are you,
I do need you to vote.
you need to vote one way or the other, so are you opposed or abstaining?
I'll abstain.
Okay.
Yeah, because I just, yeah.
I moved too fast on that, my apologies.
No, it's okay, it's okay. It passes, so everybody will, yeah, I'll make it. I'll make it work.
Okay, the Bard tour, go ahead, Perry.
Oh, just once again, I wanted to make note of a wonderful bar tour that we had last week. We have an incoming group of international students who were welcomed into the village. At our last tour, the mayor welcomed them. At this tour, the deputy mayor was there to step up, and they had an absolutely wonderful introduction here to our village.
Harry joined. You also, your days
Well, thank you. It was very nice to be able to chat with them. And once again, want to give Bailey Williams a shout out for helping facilitate it. It's such a pleasure having these students in our community and to help make them feel as home as possible while they're here. So just wanted to thank everybody here for helping make it happen and acknowledge it on record.
Seems to have been a wonderful way to welcome new students into the village,
Yeah.
to make them feel welcome. I mean, we always know that there'll be people who may not be as pleasant and welcoming, but this way they meet a lot of people who are welcoming. And the other is it's an opportunity to remind the students that no matter where you come from, because we are a small community, we look into people's eyes and we say hello even if we don't know them. And we encourage at the one where it was students from all over this country, there were a whole bunch from New York City, and when you're in New York City, you don't meet anybody's eye, you don't say hello to someone you don't know, so I wanted to just encourage everyone. And the chamber also did a great job of saying, just pop into a business and say hello, they're happy that you're here.
Oh,
And
yes,
so
of
it
course,
was a
we got
nice-
the chamber was an integral part of it, yes.
And so it was just a nice reminder to students that, you know, we are a community where we'd actually like you to say hello, even if we don't know you. They also were nicely, they all had the red t-shirts on as well, didn't they? That had BARD CCE on them, and it was just a really nice way to identify them as students. It's early August. I'm not always thinking of students, especially in the end of July when the first group came, so. But I think BARD has done a wonderful job of switching around how they introduce new students to the village, so that kind of buzz
Always welcome.
extends beyond just those who are here. Though I will say the international group, there was a couple of students I talked to after, I said, oh, what was the part you liked best? And they said cars. And they pointed at the police Dodge. It wasn't even the Tesla. I'm like, okay, interesting. So you just,
That's what my speech was.
depending on how, no, I was asking about when because they had come back from their tour of the village.
They were great.
Your speech was great. Okay, on to the reports. Treasurer's report. Mary Beth DeFilippis, our treasurer.
Good evening. As to the village's finances, our account balances as of July 31st were as follows. General fund, $171,542.40. Our NICLAS general fund account was $1,565,018.73.
Mary Beth, I'm just going to stop you right there just to acknowledge that last year, in about July, was when you facilitated, after approval from the board, to engage with NICLAS. And so to have $1.5 million in NICLAS earning interest is a terrific benefit for the village. So an additional opportunity to say thank you.
Our water fund holds $217,347.95 at the end of July, but I've just transferred 91,000 and change was due to the sewer fund. So that will be reflected, that was reflected today in today's balance. NICLAS water fund holds $205,926.22. Our payroll clearing account held $79,710.86. Our sewer fund held $17,051.88. Hardscrabble account holds $42.76. Village Green, $5,156.35. And our health insurance deductible account held $6,129.37. As for our reserve savings accounts as of July 31st, fire department held $10,758.11. The police departments held $18,485.98. Our NICLAS USDA water reserve account held $152,927.14. the USDA Water Reserve account held $7.93. The Highway Reserve account held $617.28. The Snow Reserve was at $3,552.04. The Tower Reserve, $19,183.72. Unemployment Reserve was at $7,609.29. The Court Reserve was at $3,572.74. And the Office Reserve account held $1,053.34. As for our monthly expenses, in July, the general fund had $300,223.11, but $125,000 of that was actually a transfer to NICLAS. Our water fund had expenses of $102,372.60, and again, that $50,000 of that went to our NICLAS water fund. Payroll clearing account had $6,639.04 in expenses. Our sewer fund had $139,082.62. That included $119,455 check to Delaware Engineering, which will be reimbursed. And that was funded by our general fund advance to the sewer fund. Significant interfund transfers during July are, as I discussed above, we got transferred to NICLAS general fund of $125,000 and transferred to the NICLAS water fund of $50,000. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you very much, Mary Beth. I'll take a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Thank you, Craig. Second.
Second?
Thank you, Perry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Can
Thank
I
you.
just ask a question?
Sure, always.
Because the NICLAS fund is incredible, are there stipulations around that money as to what it can be spent on? I'm just curious. This is either for you or for the mayor, I'm just curious. I'm just curious about the NICLAS fund and what it's
So,
used for.
the NICLAS fund, it's literally an investment
It's
fund.
just investment fund?
Yeah, so when we're going to spend it, it goes back to the,
Transfer
it goes back to the
general.
key bank fund. And so general fund is restricted
I
to
see.
what's been
I
appropriated for
misunderstood.
general fund.
Gotcha, thank you.
You got it.
Are you talking about the interest that's gained, goes back to the fund that it was gained from?
That is also true.
Okay, sorry, that was.
Harry's question was,
Sorry.
what can the NICLAS fund be used to spend
Mm-hmm.
on?
Yes.
And the notion is it comes from the general fund.
Okay.
For example, it goes to NICLAS as an investment, and then it goes back to the general fund and has to be spent as appropriated by the board
Sure.
for the
Yeah.
general fund.
Got it, thank you.
And we initiated the NICLAS,
Gotcha, that's what I figured.
we initiated the NICLAS investments because the rate we earned when we began, it was like 4.39% as opposed to less than
0 point,
2%
yeah.
from key bank. So it was,
Significant net positive, yeah.
Brent started this thing where he like adds how much in every, like, how much has been gained by the scrap metal collection.
Right.
And I wonder if that would be an interesting
Oh,
thing
it
to
would.
know, like how much we.
With from NICLAS,
We
yeah,
actually have a line item that is NICLAS interest.
Okay.
Well, I just meant in the report.
In the report?
It would, you know, it could sound
Mhm,
nice to
mhm.
know. We
Mhm.
could.
But we'll
Yeah.
talk about it.
It's not my thing to suggest, just.
We'll talk about it.
I too love it, that's why I keep it in my highway. I continue Brent's tradition.
Yeah, I like
It's
that.
just nice
I
seeing
agree.
cumulative results.
I agree.
Okay, on to reports. So the first item that I have is the sewer expansion project, and this also includes the short-term upgrades. The intermunicipal grant and the water quality improvement grants were both submitted prior to their deadlines in late July. Just want to comment that we're very fortunate to be in such a positive position to both apply and have a good probability of receiving these important and sizable grants. As a reminder, the potential is up to $19.4 million. This project will enable us to update the treatment technology and expand our infrastructure, which will support expanding housing opportunities and protect our water supply for many years to come. These grants will enable us to proceed and keep the capital borrowing costs as low as possible. As a reminder, our wastewater treatment plant is under an order on consent from DEC, so we do have a legal obligation to proceed with these improvements as well. The short-term upgrade designs were reviewed by the sewer operations team and submitted to DEC by the July 20th deadline. Once those plans are approved, we can proceed to bid. DEC has 180 days to review. As a reminder, these plans are to permanently expand our equalization tank. It's not a sludge tank, it's a holding tank. Capacity, which will stabilize and simplify our current sewer operations. The updated preliminary engineering report, which was included in the grant applications, is the preliminary engineering for the full project. A great deal of detailed design work remains to be completed. The receiving station and solar panels were included so we could continue to explore whether or not they would work, with the goal of mitigating costs for the operations of the upgraded wastewater treatment plant. As the design work continues, if these extra projects don't make sense, they will be eliminated from the final plan design. But if we don't include them now, we cannot consider them in the project later. We will meet soon to discuss the income survey. We did not get enough surveys to meet the criteria for acceptance last year. We can use last year's surveys as they are good for 5 years, and we will still have time to complete enough surveys. The potential benefit, depending on the results, would be to once again qualify for hardship financing or a zero interest loan for the remaining costs of the project after grants. That is what the Phase 1 bond is. It's zero interest. Red Hook Fire Department, the 2025 LoSAP awards have been calculated and submitted for payment. The required replacement funds are in our voucher packet. These funds are 100% covered by the town per our agreement with the town. I also have the incident reports for the fire company for June and July. The total number of incidents, bless you, in June were 28 in the village and in July 25. In June there were 16, 17, 18 of the 28 were medical or EMS related, and in July 13 out of the 25 were medical or EMS related. And that represented 36 and 25% of the total number of incidents for the fire company. Food waste collection, still working on plans for a fall education event with the remaining funds in the grant. Currently looking at Saturday morning, either September 12 or October 3rd. Anyone interested in helping with this program, please contact me at mayor@redhoodvillage.gov or 845-758-4715. Sawkill Watershed Community Advisory Council. Sawkill Watershed Community met July 22nd. The BARD sampling program was discussed. BARD is struggling to keep up with this program due to a shortage of funds and volunteers. The Sawkill Watershed Community discussed sending out a call for volunteers to collect the samples. Volunteers used to collect samples, so if anyone's interested in that, you get trained, and the sample collecting happens once a month. Ideas on funding the testing were also discussed. A proposal for well testing was submitted to the town for consideration. I can also say that there is a water, oh gosh, I'm not going to get it right. There's a long-term water report that's being presented tomorrow at the town board meeting, and in it, it includes a recommendation of funding the Sawkill Watershed Community so that they can continue to do this water monitoring because it's considered very important, which I would agree with. The group reviewed the Dutchess County Soil and Water comments regarding the Fisk Pond. If soil and water were to be involved with buffer plantings and plants, the timing would likely be October or November. I gave an update on the wastewater treatment plant operations. I also offered to schedule a tour of the wastewater treatment plant for the committee. A grant application was submitted to DEC for the amphibian program. Senator Hinchy's $23,000 grant is a reimbursement grant OSI, which is Open Spaces Institute, which is the fiscal sponsor now of the Sauk Hill Watershed Community, does not provide cash flow loans. Other options were discussed. Other fundraising, I think I said that twice. Sheila Buff will approach the aerodrome about sampling sites and possible funding from them to cover those costs. Henry Wood discussed the action plan and next step summary from the spring 2025 water quality testing results summary report. The next meeting is Wednesday, August 26, 6:30 here in Village Hall.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yes,
I'm so sorry to
absolutely.
interrupt.
Sorry.
You mentioned the buffer planting in most likely October or November. I remember at one point in our meeting, they mentioned they would need something from the village as to the flood level. Do we need that? Or if I were
Yes.
to continue moving forward with the residents, could we hit this deadline, do you think?
I don't think there's any reason for you not to continue with the residents.
Certainly, I'm still moving
I
forward
think
in that way.
what Soil and Water said was that there are two sort of area. One is there's a point at which it becomes an emergency overflow and
Yes.
it affects Fisk Street, which then becomes a village concern and interest. And so we need to figure out what that line is.
Yes.
And then sort of below that would be the buffer, and that, but there would need to be the review with the property owners, what kind of buffer planting, what are the possibilities, et cetera. So there's work to do in between,
Certainly.
but if it were to happen, it wouldn't happen before October, November.
Until
I
then.
have an elevation plan of the village that I should send you.
Yeah.
It might be helpful for that because
Yeah.
it's broken down, that just kind of did it for me. Anyway, for the village, not for me personally.
And that
Yeah,
could
yeah.
potentially identify what the actual
Exactly.
buffer
Yeah,
is.
and then
That'd be
you
great.
could just trace the one that it lines up with the outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I will,
Fantastic.
I
Okay,
will
cool.
email, but remind me if I don't send it to you.
Great. Yep, it's on my list to circle back to
Great.
on this week, so yes, I will. Thank you. Okay, please continue, sorry.
Good questions. Dutchess County Transportation Council Advisory Board met virtually on July 29th. Announcements included various grant opportunities. A future Dutchess County Transportation Council call for planning proposals was announced. This requires no matching funds, just support from the municipality. Project ideas include sidewalk inventory, parking studies, speed limit studies, pedestrian plans. Deputy Mayor Caraval and I, when I wrote this, we had a meeting coming up with Dutchess County Transportation Council to discuss possible ideas that we could apply for with the best chance of being awarded. We had that meeting the end of last week, so we'll have more to report on that. Dutchess County Transportation Council Safety Improvement Program received 8 proposals, including one from New York State DOT for intersection pedestrian safety enhancements, which includes village centers, though not Red Hook this round. Our planning with Dutchess County Transportation Council could lead to our inclusion through recommendation outcomes from planning studies. I hope that makes sense. Basically, if we do a planning study with Dutchess County Transportation Council and one of the recommendations is to improve the state road intersection, that would lead to us being in a better position for the Transportation Council to actually take that up as a project.
Sure.
Federal transit funds for fiscal year 2026 result in a 2 to 3% decrease in funding. 2026 Transportation Plan update, or Moving Dutchess Forward, will be voted on by the Dutchess County Transportation Council Policy Board, of which I am a member, on August 6th. We did have that vote and it was approved. This is a 30-year plan that gets updated every 5 years. If you go to the Dutchess County website and put in Moving Dutchess Forward, it has a ton of information and it's actually quite fascinating. And they went through a whole process to update this transportation plan. So this document is a long-term plan out to 2050, which includes project recommendations, is fiscally constrained and updated every 5 years. So there we go, I wrote it in here. The goal is to maintain existing transportation infrastructure. Focus is federal aid eligible roads. Local roads generally don't qualify. One long-term project included is redesigning state routes through town-village centers. Funding, as always, will be the issue for how many of the long-term projects get activated. What I'm encouraged by is seeing that there are a variety of places where the notion of the intersection within a village is being highlighted as something that is worthy of funding. So that I find hopeful. Traffic counts will take place. Red Hook counts are likely to be in August. I don't have a specific date yet. Some of the traffic counts will be done by camera. No personal information is recorded, just a count of cars going by and how fast they're going. The next planning meeting is virtual on September 30th at 10 a.m. And the policy board meeting was in person this past Thursday. Cell tower rental, I did want to give you all just an update. This is something that the village has been renting space on our water tower for many years. So we currently have lease agreements with AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile for space on our water tower. The revenue shows up on account number A2440, rental-other in the general fund. This year, the budget is $105,000, so you can see that that is not a small amount of revenue that we are receiving. If we had a prettier water tower, maybe we would think twice about it, but our water tower is kind of average. When T-Mobile bought out Sprint, they canceled the lease for Sprint, which led to a decline in our revenue. If you look over time, it's actually down a bit. David Groth is our consultant who works for the village on all things related to leases on the water tower. He's speaking with several companies for possible lease arrangement agreements as we have space on the tower to accommodate more. We are also working on an updated agreement with David for his services as well. So that'll be coming soon. And then community engagement, just mentioned the BARD students coming to Village Hall. And that's it.
Sorry, another question. Is there going to be an effect on us with this decrease in funding from the federal transit funds you mentioned?
Not an immediate effect. It's more because these funds they're federal funds, so they go to federal roads and they go to federal transportation.
Sure.
The hard part is going to be, it's part of the funding for the loop bus, for example, so that may it may be a little tighter on them. And obviously with costs of staff, et cetera, going up, I don't know how they're going to manage that, so it may be that the county may have to consider putting in a little more money for the transportation, for the transit system.
Interesting.
It's not a huge decrease. It would be better if it were an increase.
Sure.
There may be a time when I come back to you to say that we should be advocating to our state agencies and our federal representative for focusing more funding on transit and transportation projects. Because as you might imagine, the cost of maintaining the existing infrastructure is already a sizable cost. And then if you want to do new projects, it's on top of that. So there will not be an immediate impact, not a significant one. If this trend continues, it will have an impact over time.
And we're lucky that our congressman is on the transportation. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Good person to write.
That's it for me, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the police reports. So there was 312 incidents total. There was 139 in the village of Red Hook, 152 in the town of Red Hook, 21 in the village of Tivoli. There was 92 water tower checks, 85 traffic tickets, 43 in the village of Red Hook, 36 in the town of Red Hook, 6 in the village of Tivoli. And there was 1 parking ticket in the village of Red Hook, 0 in the town, and 6 in the village of Tivoli. And for the month of July, there were 7 arrests, 2 in the village of Red Hook and 5 in the town of Red Hook, and 0 in the village of Tivoli. Then I'm going to go to reports because I mentioned it. Okay, so then the town of Red Hook comprehensive plan. The town committee meets monthly from 7:30 to 9 p.m. They're basically moving along on working on the plan so that we have something to review. And they're going to be planning the 3rd and final public workshop for late October. So once I have details for that, I will let you guys all know about that. Town of Red Hook Community Preservation Fund. So I did end up attending my first meeting as a liaison and observer. The CPF Advisory Board met on Wednesday, July 22nd at 6 p.m. to discuss the Water District parcels that were amended to the CPF list of properties by the town board on May 27, 2026. At the meeting were Emily Major, John Hardiman, Charlie Lang, and Committee Chair Mary Ann Johnson. The town supervisor attended the meeting as well, arriving after the discussion had started and leaving before the vote was cast. The properties in question are 5 parcels between Aspenwall and Albee Roads that were decommissioned by the Water District as no longer being a source for wells and were proposed to be sold as surplus to offset the cost of the water tower repair for that Water District. The Water District had to request that the town board authorize the sale of the properties. In turn, the town board proposed purchasing the properties to serve as a town park and / for water resource protection. For reference, the town has a different legal structure than the village regarding water districts. As a village, we are required to provide water to all the parcels within the village. As a village boundary is our water district. The village can supply customers outside of our district, but we cannot create districts outside the village boundary. In the town, Water District Number 1 serves a specific cluster of 488 rate-paying households that have a boundary different from the town boundary. And I include the map just for people's education. Questions were raised as to the legality of the town purchasing property that they already own. The town supervisor present and the town council by text stated that parcels are owned on behalf of the Water District in a custodial nature. The supervisors of the town does not have the ability / right to sell or conserve the properties on their own because they do not have the right to potentially devalue the Water District's interest. I listed the properties. The vote was 3-1 in favor of recommending the project. The caveat, the committee wanted to review the recent appraisal of the properties, which will be used to determine the amount that would be paid out of the CPF fund. Votes were as follows. Charlie Lang is the village representative, yes. Emily Major, yes. John Hardiman, no. Mary Ann Johnson, yes. A public hearing for the sale of the properties will be held on August 11th at 6:35 p.m. at Town Hall. And the total of the balance as of 6/9/2026, I skipped over that, but it's $963,019. So it's sizable. Village of Red Hook Communications. I am currently preparing the Red Hook Cares brochure and opening a business brochure to be submitted for translation. After that, we will send them for printing. And we got feedback from all the different agencies, including the DCFS, Dutchess County Family Services. And yeah, it was all very helpful, and it was really, it's really great to see how many community partners are providing things, working hard to serve the community. Village of Red Hook, 25 miles per hour speed limit initiative. I called and emailed the DOT safety group on July 28th and August 6th. Updates have been lacking details beyond telling me that the investigation is still ongoing and not yet completed. I called the NISDOT Region 8 Regional Planning and Program Manager and spoke to Gage Altman Lewis, asking if he could help me understand the process better as the school year is rapidly approaching. And I will continue to follow up in search of updates. Basically, I'm just trying to bug anyone I can. Anyone who wants to send an email saying that we care, please do so. Pedestrian Advocacy Committee. I created a doodle poll to ascertain when most members could meet initially. The date that worked for most members was July 28th at 6:30 p.m. in the village courtroom. The goal of that initial meetup was to allow everyone to introduce themselves, as well as to establish options for regular time. I shared a general fact sheet outlining some relevant information, such as the committee's charge, who owns and maintains public roads within the village, where members can find publicly posted traffic data, as well as some links to traffic calming guides online. We also discussed the need for an official chair to set the meeting agenda and a secretary to record minutes. The meeting time moving forward is the second Thursday of the month at 6:30 p.m. The next meeting will be August 13th. The Village and Zoning Review, the Village Board held a special meeting on July 13th, and we have those minutes already approved. Planning, Zoning, and Building Department. Last monthly meeting, we had a discussion around the process of complaints and why the village would possibly fine or violate a property owner that had a lawn of over 10 inches in height. I wanted to take the opportunity to explain the general process of complaints, as well as the code that is relevant to weed/unmaintained lawns. Our building department provides protection from hazards of fire, inadequate building construction, and improper maintenance. in residential and non-residential buildings through the enforcement of local codes, local and state codes, rules, and regulations. Enforcement is enacted through the issuance of permits, notices, and orders, performance of inspection, and issuance of certificates. If that sounds wordy, it's because it's from our website. So that a complaint can be made to the building department by email, phone, or in person. That complaint is then investigated to see if it violates either village or state codes. If the instance could conceivably violate a code, then the code enforcement officer inspects the property in question. If there's no immediate safety issues, such as an unsafe building site, the building clerk will contact the property owner to resolve the situation. In the case of weeds, the code that is relevant is the Property Maintenance Code of New York State. As you can imagine, property that is not being properly maintained can pose hazards. So New York State has a code related to all things property owners must do in the interest of public safety. Below, I have excerpted the relevant code and definitions. Do people want me to read this out? Or basically, the idea is that the Property Maintenance Code exists to keep the public safe. And there is a line at section 302, exterior property areas, weeds, except as provided in statute, local law, ordinance, or other regulations, all developed areas of a premises that are intended to be used by building occupants or the public shall be maintained free from weeds in excess of 10 inches. Noxious weeds shall be prohibited. And then they also have a definition of the weeds later on. It says, weeds are considered uncultivated vegetation such as grasses, brush, briars, and annual plants, excluding trees and cultivated vegetation such as shrubs, flowers, garden, and vegetation used for agricultural purposes. So, the maintenance code is a New York State code that our code inspector is required to enforce. It's important to recognize that trees and cultivated vegetation, as well as areas that are not for use by building occupants or the public, are exempt. So that means if you have like a wooded area that you're not using and you don't expect someone to use it, that's not under the code, right? If you planted shrubs on purpose or you planted plants on purpose and they're cultivated or there's trees, they're exempt. Additionally, as stated in the code, the board does have the ability as a municipality to create a local law that gives more specific guidance. Does anyone have any questions about that before I move on to the actual building department report? Nope. Okay. Village of Red Hook Building Department monthly trustee report for the July 2026. There were 5 building permits issued. There was 1 certificate of occupancy issued. There were 0 temporary certificates of occupancy. There were 11 certificate of compliances. There was 1 municipal search. There were 0 orders to remedy, stop work orders, do not occupy notices, or court appearances. There were 0 complaints. There was 1 fire inspection at 7468 South Broadway. And there were no meetings. The planning board did not meet due to no quorum, and the zoning board did not meet due to no agenda. And the total in income to the building department for the month of July was $1,075.
Great, thank you very much. Trustee Uku.
Thank you. First, I apologize. I don't know if you had printouts. Oh, Jen, thank you so much. I didn't. I submitted these all today. I was dealing with personal emergency, and I've been on the phone with various people related to the DEC forestry grant that we discussed earlier in general business. But I have 2 reports for you for Highway Department and Village Green. So for the materials management, as usual in the Highway report, refer to the attached spreadsheet for full details. And most of this I will only take highlights from my reports, so I'm not keeping everyone late. So July held the good news of the new fiscal year. We had no contaminated recycling charges, 0, we love 0. And so our total materials management expenses for July were $1,504.19. And then we had garbage tax sales. We have the Tivoli service agreement continues to bring in $2,730 in monthly revenue. And so the total July garbage revenue, including library tags, Tivoli, and the Taste Buds batch at $700 a batch, was $6,017. As for the scrap metal program, the revenue since my last report on the 13th of July was $1,430.40. Total revenue this fiscal has been $2,180. Since the program's inception in September 2007, donations to scrap metal program have yielded a total of $63,435.79. Proceeds go towards the purchase of tools and equipment for the highway department. Residents and businesses interested in donating scrap metal may contact the village clerk's office to schedule a pickup. Further, I recommend always for all our services, trash and recycling, food waste drop-off, brush and yard waste pickup. Remember, always the first full week of the month. It just went by last week. Don't be like me, not this month, but the month before, and forget. So we're now into September for your next first full week of the month, remember. And please refer regularly to the 2026 Waste Collection Guide, Dual Streaming Recycling Guide, and Pickup Calendar. Credit for designing these belongs to Deputy Mayor Kervala. I could not survive without mine. Elizabeth Street flooding, as we had earlier in general business, I raised this in my April report and returning to it as residents continue to report conditions worsening, deeper water, slower to recede. I did meet with NICOM Legislative Director Brian Coffin and Highway Foreman Jake Smith. I will present those findings and more in my September report. And as usual, I have my foreman appreciation, giving Jake his flowers, which is also flowers for the mayor. I'm always sure to say, this is an operations general shout out. Thank you, Jake and crew, for being out on Elizabeth Street documenting the most recent flooding firsthand, right outside and alongside the residents living with it. Just ask around, we are the envy of all neighboring villages and towns. That's my highway. Now for Village Green. Again, I had so much more. I had a really cool packet of all, and I will file this with the clerk actually. One of the things that was very instrumental to me in building the DEC forestry grant application was foiling 2 municipalities who were able to provide the bones of their applications, and so that was very, very helpful, and shout out particularly to the town of Clifton Park for assisting me with this. Now, onto my Village Green Committee report for July. The Village Green Committee held its third quarterly meeting on Thursday, July 16, 2026, 6 p.m. at Village Hall in person with a remote option for attendance. I have attached my agenda and minutes for this, but I will state who was present was Chair Barrett and Member Dave Pearson in person, Member Joy Glass, and future Member Baby Lou attended remotely, and Trustee Uku attended in person as committee liaison. Absent and excused were members Jim Cashin, Kevin McGinnis, and Brenda Cagle. And this is just what will be my final report on the DEC and Urban Community Forestry Grant. As I've reported since May, almost 4 months ago, the committee has been immersed in assembling the components for this grant bid. A sample work assignment sheet is attached. If the village is successful, we would have an update to our tree inventory and community forestry management program plan, 22 years overdue. And this is the actual Brenda Cagle organized from 2024, the mayor assisted. We both tracked this thing down upstairs in the conference with all a trove of Village Green archive material. It was very, very helpful in assembling this. Anyway, so I've attached, although I didn't get it printed out for you, but I will. Once everything is in, I will get you these component pieces because it's been really great. Some press I included from the 2003-2004 collaboration with Cornell on developing this first inventory and community forestry management plan. Also in 2004, the DEC advised Brenda Cagle, I look forward to your grant application for the inaugural round of this very grant, which we will hopefully submit this week. I believe we've built a competitive application, and the awards will be announced in October. Up next, Fall Planting Day with an Arbor Day proclamation and affirming our Tree City USA membership, a new member drive, and more. If you know a neighbor who loves trees and the people that plant them, guide them to Village Green. You won't find a nicer bunch.
Can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
In here it said the recipients for this year's planting are secured, 10 trees.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean you guys are, it's closed, or does that mean you're still accepting?
Still accepting, but we have to have the order, they have to have the order, do I have the date in the minutes? They have to have the order in at the end of the month, and they're still accepting. The chair had mentioned that she was speaking to you about potential 2 trees.
Yeah.
They're still ongoing, so
Okay,
as far
so
as I have,
with the deadline, do you know the deadline when you have to get?
no, I'd have to check.
Okay,
with,
just- And is there, so we could do more than 10 trees?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great.
Except, I do remember Dave Pearson had said, and the chair agreed, that they would like to, because they would like to return to having 2 planting days. We had just the 1 this
Yeah.
year. So they would like, if there were more than 10, they would stagger to the spring.
Okay,
Is what I think the plan is.
okay, great, because I have another person that I,
Location.
yeah, so
Mhm.
that would be 4 trees if I'm lucky.
That would be
Yeah,
great. That would
Great,
be
I just
so
wanted to
great.
know if there was a deadline.
No, I mean, yeah, yes for this batch, but ultimately, no.
Great. Great. I have another question too,
Yes,
just
yes. No,
on
please.
this, the Google My Maps that you're gonna be doing for plotting the
Yes.
So the village has a mapping program.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense to have it?
diamond match you're talking about?
Yeah, does it make sense to have it go into that so that it would be like part of like within the village, or is it required to be Google My Maps?
No, it's not required to be, but that's, you have to have a map to submit for the grant. When we are awarded the grant,
Yeah.
then you get a shape file and we can download all of that information into Diamond Maps.
Okay,
And
amazing,
then continue to maintain,
that's
you know,
great.
yeah, a lot of these bids that I've been receiving will give you a few years of this very expensive proprietary software.
Yeah,
And one of them, you know, they can give you 2 years. I'm like, great, if that's in your bid, but we're certainly not doing the 4 years. And what's been also excellent, shout out to DEC, our urban forester for Region 3 is a woman called Amy McKenzie, and she's really steered us into what is realistic for a village our size. And I had one conversation with her today, and I would have like gone for a really crazy budget, and she she has reined us back in. So yeah, thank you for the question. I will give all of that. You know, if we are fortunate to receive and we decide to accept, you'll
awesome,
get all of it.
great, thank you.
Sure. That was it for me, unless there were other questions. But I will send this round, because you should look at this press from 2003
They all
and 4.
have
Yeah,
Oh,
we have it
really?
in here.
Oh, sorry, I'm
Yeah,
so,
no, this is great.
today has been, I have
Yeah,
no
that's
idea what you
yeah.
have.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
fantastic.
Great, yeah, it's been the hardest thing I've ever
No,
done,
this is
but
wonderful.
it's been
Good
very
work.
cool.
This is great.
Okay, on to Perry, under trustee Allen.
Trustee Allen.
We'll start with the sewer. We had our most recent sewer meeting. I am so sorry, it's not on the report here of who was in attendance, but we had an attendance with us. This is for the
Oh,
sewer,
that's right, not
unfortunately.
wetlands. No,
yeah,
it's
we'll get
okay.
there later.
It's okay.
We had Les Kuhn from H2O Innovations, Robert Flores, Mayor, and myself. I believe this was the meeting that you were gone for? Yep, I believe so. So that is who was in
Jake was
attendance.
probably there too.
And Jake was as well. We discussed initially the non-compliance report. One of the first things that we discussed is the increased water temperature that we're seeing at the plant, which is attributed primarily due to the summer heat and the happy bugs that are in the system, right? When the bugs are happy, they're creating heat. So we are coming in with a little bit of excessive heat coming out of the plant, which is to note. However, here's a very interesting thing that we noticed. No, you were in this meeting. I remember now because you were part of coming up with this. The influent water coming into the plant is about 75 degrees on average, and the effluent is 65 degrees, which means the plant is actually cooling the water somehow. And it's still too hot, you know, it's still above compliance levels. But it's actually a really interesting phenomenon that the engineer even seemed a bit perplexed by.
And there isn't an acute tank that's like in the sun or anything when it comes in? No, that would be after.
It's all covered.
100%.
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing that is going to take just an interesting consideration. Might be related to stormwater considerations, might be other things, it's just something of note.
Do you think it's in people
It shouldn't-
showering?
It shouldn't be stormwater because we don't accept, stormwater is
Oh,
not
into
a
those
sewer
drains.
system.
Yes.
And just also to point out, the 10-degree difference you have here has not been maintained. So if you look at the June report, the influent and effluent are closer by a lot.
Is that so?
So plant 1B, for example, the maximum, well, this is a maximum, not an average, but the maximum was 75.5, and in the influent and the effluent was 77.2, so it goes down a little, but not that much. So,
I see. Thank you for pointing that out. It was noted that we should be testing the water of the stream in 2 locations up and down from the output.
just to clarify, we could, it's not,
That we
we're
could?
not required to.
That we could,
but-
yeah, we're not required. There is volunteer interest in doing this from the wetland committee, which I can follow up on when we get to the wetland part. But if that is something we move forward with, I have people who would certainly be interested in helping with that.
Also, and I think you're going to touch on this when you get to your wetland committee, the Salkhill Watershed Community, their testing point, which is at Benner Road, they
Right.
actually test for temperature.
Mhm.
So there will be some data associated with what the temperature is there and has been on a monthly basis. So
Perfect.
something to,
Is that
Another
after?
data point.
That's after.
yes.
Yeah,
That's
what
the
you were saying,
downstream.
sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it enters the tributary and then it goes along, it actually goes through 2 private properties to get to Benner Road. And I believe they do the testing on the other side of Benner Road.
Where would it be testing for before the plant, if you were to?
I think that's
Well,
to
that's
be
a
determined.
test point that has been happening for years
Oh, no, yeah.
by the Salkhill Watershed. It's not clear where,
Yeah, okay, got it.
because there's us, there's this, there's that,
Yeah.
so it's not exactly clear. Have to figure that out.
Okay, sorry, I'm asking
If
some
it
questions.
were required by DEC, if DEC were to consider this a significant problem, which they have not to date, the testing, they can require you to test, but it's 200 feet before and 200 feet after.
Okay, that's,
So it's not clear where,
got it,
where
okay.
200 feet
Yeah,
would
yeah.
be.
Mhm.
In the before, the after, I think would be a little more obvious.
Mhm. Yeah, just to reiterate what you were saying, that these are non-compliance reports and not violations. They have not been considered by the DEC to be things of note to that level, but just things that our team are certainly aware of. There's also a notion that some of the increased temperature could be due to the UV lights in Plant A. This site is undergoing continued fixing and maintenance, so Lesker is certainly aware of that and is continuing.
But the UV lights are always going to add heat, and that's going to be in plant A and B.
Mhm.
So that's one of the elements that if you cool it down before, the UV lights by definition will heat it.
Are gonna heat it up, because they're
They're hot.
lights.
Plant A
just
is
to-
the old plant, right?
No, it's a new plant.
Plant A
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
funny enough.
Because
for-
DEC
yeah.
decided that they wanted to confuse us by making A be
Okay.
the
I knew
second.
it was the opposite of what my instinct was, and I'm sorry.
I know, but then you
Yeah.
second guess that.
Yes.
That's the trouble I get into every meeting. With all these things, the team is actively working on finding solutions. You know, Les is actively brainstorming different ways of trying to mitigate all of these different things. At our meeting, there was a further discussion regarding this receiving station, which we've obviously already touched upon. I won't necessarily, I think this is everything that we've already discussed regarding that, but it was discussed in the meeting as well. I'm very happy that safety railings are being installed throughout the plant. In plant 1B, their railings are officially installed. Yes, please, what were you saying?
No, I was corroborating.
Yeah, no, it's just really fantastic. I feel like for the safety of the H2O Innovations team and also even just the efficiency of the workflow there, I think it's really fantastic. I also, once again, have to give Jake Smith some credit because he designed a porthole opening.
In a manhole cover.
Thank you. That one could buy for many hundreds of dollars, if not more, but he was able to fashion his own design that was then approved by the H2O safety people and all, but saved us a ton of money. And now the plant is even more safe, or is even safer, so it's really fantastic.
Just to clarify, he established the design, he's created one, he has to create a few more before they're
Still
all
working on it.
installed.
Okay, so they're not fully installed
They're not
yet,
fully installed
but they
yet.
have been designed and we're working toward it.
And one's being tested as we speak, right?
One has been installed, yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the
effectively,
caveat about
you've
that.
got a manhole cover that's this way,
Yeah.
and what he's created is an opening, I think it's 8 inches wide, that you open up, so you can do what you need to do,
Yeah.
but you're not at risk of falling in. And so it is truly a safety and efficiency, you don't have to lift the manhole cover, et cetera, so it's,
Mhm. Definitely.
He should patent it.
That's what, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what was said, definitely.
I
Well,
just,
then maybe he'd quit. We don't-
I just reminded him he had a full-time job, just saying. He does have Saturday and Sunday sometimes.
The plant 1A still needs walkways and railings in the aeration tank and in the UV room. We're talking about that. That's going to be a little more costly, so we're getting information about that. The negotiations regarding electricity continue. I have to apologize. I have some emails that I need to follow up regarding that. But the mayor and I have been working to accumulate bids and information from a variety of parties to try to come up with a better electricity plan. Whether it's for strictly the wastewater treatment plant or if that somehow can extrapolate to a larger village-wide something. But no information yet on that. I promise I'll have some soon. Robert Flores did just recommend in general that we schedule a tour. This could just be for the sewer team, but it might not be bad for the board at large. To take a tour of Rhinebeck's wastewater treatment plant, to just get an idea of another one that looks nice and could be relative to ours in certain ways.
They're also finishing up a capital project as well.
Oh, fantastic. So it might be a good time for us. I'm happy to continue following up on that and then circle back if the date starts to coalesce, yeah?
Awesome.
Okay, cool. Fantastic. Any questions about the sewer otherwise? All right, let's keep rolling. What do I have here next? Public spaces. I wasn't at this meeting, but I did receive some notes from the mayor and Betsy Brower, who is one of our fearless members and leaders. There's continued work on the Abrahams Park. Progress continues. Oh, I must say, I think this is on here, but, oh yeah, okay, we'll get there in a second, okay. Ursula Wolf, our BART intern, is doing an absolutely wonderful job continuing with her ideas. Unfortunately, I wasn't there to see how far they've come, but I know I'll be at the next meeting. And we were hoping she was going to be here at this meeting to present to us, just didn't work out. But that is okay, the work is still in progress. Some of that has to do with some things outside of her capacity,
Control?
Thank you. But she's doing an absolutely wonderful job, excited to see how that's coming. I wanted to say with this next note, not continued work on the webpage. Thank you so much to the Deputy Mayor for putting up a webpage on our site that is regarding the future of Abrahams Park. I'm going to do my best to send it around. Please, I should have put a link here in this report. But we are hoping to generate a lot of excitement about the park. We have signs going up at the park. We hope to have QR codes on those signs that people can be scanning, direct them to this site, otherwise direct traffic to this site and begin helping people understand all the exciting things that we have going on, what could be happening there, and really beginning that initiative. So thank you so much for putting that together so fast.
So it's up on the screen. This is it's under the Public Spaces Committee, the future of Abrahams Park, and it has a series of pictures, and these are the signs that were made by Girl Scout troops, and I think there was another group that did, it might have been there was a middle school class, and these signs are absolutely wonderful. If you haven't seen them, they're just fabulous. I love at one point towards the top, there's a sign that says it's all downhill from here. I have to say I laughed out loud when I saw
there are
that
a few
one.
kind of funny.
And then Into the Woods is this one. And so it's, oh no, it keeps going.
And it's
The
a
lawn
sledge.
is, the lawn is on vacation.
So just keep-
Oh, right, and then this one just keeps going through,
And
so.
this is all
Oh, there you
Betsy,
go, there's,
know,
it's all downhill from here.
She
Okay,
did all the
so it's
captions, gave me all the photos and all the
Got these
text.
trees that are
Fantastic.
I just posted it.
Well, thank you for doing that. I know Betsy was thrilled. I was really excited to see it.
And I
think we've
also,
been working on the park for so many years now. It's exciting to see things.
the QR code, I think Betsy was in the process of putting them on the, they've been printed and they're.
Oh, is that so?
she's
Yeah,
putting
Laura
them in.
printed them and laminated them and cut them out.
Oh,
Or no, my
incredible.
daughter cut them out.
Oh, yeah?
Whole team effort.
That's
Next week.
amazing. Well, thank you all for all of that.
You made me jump
Yes.
when you mentioned this because I forgot, and I'm really sorry. I did by
Yeah,
email,
yes,
but I
yes,
wanted to thank the deputy mayor so very kindly for adding the Village Green to the agenda, committee to the agenda center. So now you can go to the agenda center or go through the Village Green page and you can see the minutes, the agenda and minutes for every meeting. So
Oh,
they're
amazing.
very grateful for that, so thank you.
And I only did that
That's
because Jen was on
fantastic.
vacation.
Ah, yes, that's right. So Jen, you should go away more. No, thank you, it was really awesome.
Science-y, that's fantastic. All right, well, yeah, so thank you for all of that. As well, there was a suggestion brought up at the meeting, there's some poison ivy in the park, so I wasn't at the
Generally,
meeting, but
yeah, it's generally at the edges of where the woods are,
Mm.
and so the idea of just putting a sign saying, you know, just be aware of poison ivy.
definitely,
Some of us who get it all the time know exactly what it looks like, but a lot of people don't, so.
definitely, good idea,
And I think it is a good idea.
certainly. We want more and more people there, so we want to keep them safe. An idea has been floated around about starting a Friends of the Park, or perhaps even a larger Friends of the Village, to help with some of these development initiatives at the park, specifically. I really love that idea. I'm trying to figure out how many things in my life I can take on, but if I can find it, I'm gonna start moving forward with that idea, but if that
But
sparks
something like
anything
that
for
could
you.
raise money for projects the
Yes.
village can't pay for, and you technically shouldn't be involved in it.
Fair enough,
Because the whole
okay.
point is that it could be
Yes.
like a
We need to recruit
fundraising.
other people to get
Yeah,
this.
sure.
Yeah, arm
sure.
that can possibly.
Maybe we can get Brent and
Yeah, maybe.
Brooke and Ben back in that way.
But
That's
that
a
would
good
be
idea.
huge because these projects are expensive and sometimes you can get grants, but sometimes you can't, you know, but
Right.
people care about it.
I think that enough
Yeah.
people in the community would be interested in supporting some of those projects.
That's very cool.
So what do you say?
I was going to say that for my last presentation, and I think it was at the previous workshop, you had asked, and I said, based on my understanding then of the grant, that we could not include Abrams in the scope.
Oh, yeah.
We can.
Oh, cool.
So,
Oh, amazing. So we can
so-
also get an inventory of all of that.
Yes,
Oh, that's
and then
amazing.
also any sort of, funding needs. So I structured it around those 150 or something trees in there. So yes, so as far as
That's great.
grant,
Oh, fantastic.
let's see, but just to let you know. I
Thank
was
you.
excited that Abrams got in
We'll take everything we can get.
there, I'm sure.
As all these plans are moving forward in all its varied ways, we will eventually need a security plan there, as was discussed. We'll discuss that more as it moves forward, I'm sure. We were awarded our grant for a civil engineering assessment for parking possibilities. So once again, we have more information that we're gathering.
Nice.
So thank you to the mayor for collecting that so that we can keep on keeping on, right?
We have our first meeting with the engineer on Thursday morning.
Thursday morning, fantastic.
Wow.
That's- that'll be fun.
Make it accessible. It's amazing.
Just looking forward, I just had a thought, we haven't had a chance really in the committee because we've been so focused on this Abraham's Park, especially since we have the intern. But just keep in mind if there's any way that we can help as you're moving
Maybe
forward
we
with
can talk to you
that.
guys?
That'd be great.
Would that make sense?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I will
If-
send a note to you of our next couple.
Unless you're at the meeting, then we'll figure it out.
Oh,
I can-
sure.
I cannot go.
Or I could come in and leave,
Oh, that's right,
Yeah.
there's a form. I'll
Sorry.
drink a tea
We'll
in the
figure,
hall
we'll
for a
figure it out.
second.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We'll make it work.
Okay, interesting. But I'll follow up with you on
Okay,
that.
great.
Cool, thank you so much. That's public spaces. Okay, the Wetland Rehabilitation Vitalization Committee had our very first meeting, which I was very excited about. It was held on July 28th. It was the night of the storm. There was a bad flood that night, so I was very impressed that I heard the deputy mayor still held her meeting here in person and people came. That was incredible. We did ours virtually. The people we had in attendance were Kelsey Shanley, Nicholas Hamilton, Amanda Sandor, myself. We had our expert in attendance, Karen Schneller McDonald, and our collaborator, Trustee Upu, was also in attendance, as visitor and listener and guest. We discussed an overview of the operations and goals, kind of like the pedestrian committee established that we need to find a chair. I was advocating for somebody to hopefully step up and suggest themselves, although I know obviously the nomination then officially comes from the mayor, but we discussed all that. We then moved on to hearing from Karen Schneller McDonald, who gave us really inspirational guidance in general as to how to move forward, how about creating restoration plans in general, the importance of wetlands, etc. I think she gave us a really good scope as to how one should move forward in general. I am in the process of putting that into a nice document that I'll be able to share with everybody by the next committee meeting, and I'll obviously share with the board. She did also express to us that we are a model of these sorts of protections, because I asked her in the meeting what other municipalities I could look toward as to, for examples of what we could do, and she said that other people are going to look to Red Hook, because we are on the forefront in terms of some of our environmental and wetland protections. So I just really want to celebrate that, and I think that's incredible. I think that we should keep that torch lit, you know, as stewards of the environment. Like, way to go, Red Hook, I'm really proud of us.
Let's get banners.
What's that?
Let's get banners.
Let's do it, yeah.
It's actually speaking word.
I'll take a crown.
Saying.
I actually think it's really magnificent.
We love our wetlands.
Yeah.
We love our wetlands. I'm actually gonna bring that up to our next committee. We need some swag. Okay.
Sorry, I don't need to be blamed.
That's a great idea. So we did want to schedule a tour of the wetland site and the wastewater treatment plant. I reached out to the team. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to schedule something. With a lot of the committee members, we have an August deadline because we have a couple teachers who then go back to work, and this is their best time. So just bringing that up, if I could get any support in scheduling that, I'll certainly keep reaching out to the team. I know Les is on vacation at the moment.
Yeah, Jake is gonna see what he can do from a timing standpoint.
Fantastic.
If not, Les is back next week.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'll circle back with them. The Benner Road water temperature testing site, sorry, circling back to the sewer with the temperature, the effluent water coming out, accepted temperatures, and the non-compliance reports. The members of the Rehabilitation Committee are really interested in helping support with that testing. Unfortunately, Amanda Sandor, who is our connection on the committee with the Sawkill Watershed community, was having technical issues at that moment. So I feel like she is going to be our connection who can help facilitate that. But I think there will be collaboration there.
And just to clarify, the testing that they currently do, they do test for the temperature, so it has been being tested.
It's already been documented.
I'm sure the Sawkill Watershed community could use some additional volunteers for the general testing.
Gotcha.
And also the required location of where DEC requires us to test for temperature is not at the outfall, but
Right.
H2O has been testing the temperature at the outfall, so they have that information as well.
Perfect.
And the outfall ends up being basically, if one is 75 and the other is 70, it's 72 and a half. It's a rough mix. It's an average, though one plant's a lot smaller than the other, so it's in between the two. Weighted average, there you go.
A weighted average, gotcha.
Yeah, so that information does exist.
Fantastic. Which is perfect, and that segues into the next thing, that our next meeting, which says here is tentatively scheduled here, I'm rescheduling it because the next expert I would like to bring in is Eli Duker with BARD and the Sawkill Watershed community, because I believe that they'll be able to illuminate how we can use all of that data, essentially. That's their specialty, and I think it would really behoove us as a committee to be able to access it in the best way possible. So I'll be getting that on the books hopefully over the next couple of days. I'll let you know as soon as that's scheduled, and that's that.
Yeah, just keep Jen up to date so she can make that
I will.
public.
Yes, I will let you know as soon as I know. Thank you so much. Any questions? Otherwise?
The one question I had, and it just sparked when you were talking about the wetland thing, and it goes back to your sewer.
Yes.
We had talked about you looking over the sewer page, just to, if there was anything that
Oh.
could be made clearer, or like, we talked about it a while ago.
Yeah, I haven't
Just-
done that. I mean, I've looked at it a lot, but I haven't looked at it with that eye.
That is not, I just, if you're interested, still open to making it clearer. I
Yeah.
just realized we hadn't talked about it for a while. so,
Amazing, yeah, thank you.
putting
I'll
it
make a
back
note
on
of
the-
that. I'll
yeah.
look at it more with that intention this week.
Awesome, no pressure on, just.
No, thank you.
Okay, last but not least, trustee Rothstein.
It's least. Um,
Not at all. It's our water we're talking about.
Enthusiasm, maybe?
Well, you know, at this point, I'm thinking about what's in the freezer. I did want to mention, because I've been sick, everybody's been sick, dogs were sick, I was sick. I have something coming for the climate action thing. I'll bring it up at the next meeting, but we have a questionnaire, we had a meeting, we talked a lot. There are some email links. I'm going to be sending those out because we want to get as many responses as possible from residents, from everybody on committees. We love committees, all the committee members, the greatest committees. Going through a Trump invitation. But basically, I'll fill you all in when we're at the next thing. I'm still coming back online. So I'll just read the water report and then I'll be on my way. So, water report, thank you, Mayor, for putting this together because I was absent for that meeting because I was home coughing like I had consumption. We had an operational meeting on July 27th where we reviewed water operations. Present were Village Engineer Robert Flores, Water Operator Les Kuhn, DPW Foreman Jake Smith, Water Clerk Jan Kavanaugh, and Mayor Karen Smythe, and absent was yours truly. Final sign-off has been received from the County Department of Health for the check valve for the water treatment plant. Right. Annual water sampling, samples have been taken, results to come.
I have to amend that because I misunderstood the samples that were taken. This is actually the second PFOA testing that was required. We're now required to do 2 tests 5 to 7 months apart. So we did the first one in January, and so those were the samples that were just taken. The results will, I can tell you that it came back with everything non-detect, which is a good
I read
thing.
those too.
So it wasn't annual water testing. This was the second PFAS testing.
Great. Water tank inspections are coming due soon. We have one quote for inspecting the 2 ground-based water tanks by the water treatment plant. We are working on getting 2 other quotes before presenting to the board for approval. The water tower was inspected as part of the improvement project last year, so it is not due for an inspection. The town had requested using the town-village interconnect while they were working on one of their water towers, but it was not needed in the end. Our DPW exercised all the valves and confirmed operation just in case. And we have some sort of
Yeah, the water report,
we
sort
got a
of
bill
the
report.
The biggest thing there is just the quantity of water that we used, so the total was 8,366,109, for an average of just shy of 270,000 a day. That's your key there. And then the test results you want to mention, which,
Where am I finding it?
it's on the second page.
What was going on the 14th? We used a lot of water.
Yes, we did. Maybe everyone was watering their garden that
it was
day.
a heavy water.
We had a dry spell for a bit.
Particularly, 2 days back to back actually, 14 and 15.
So on page 2 of the water report, Craig, I'll pipe in, the only piece to highlight is in the initial testing, we test 3 locations. And the mailroom at Traditions tested positive for coliform. And when that happens, you are required, and you want to, retest and also test two locations, one on either side of that location, and also all the wells. And when you test the wells, you're testing the raw water, meaning before treatment. And the second test for Tradition came back negative, meaning no coliform. And there was a trace of coliform at one of the wells. But again, that's before treatment, and the treatment that we do would have eliminated any coliform. So it was a blip. It's thought that it was probably a contaminated sample, especially when 5 days later it shows no trace. But that's
contaminated sample, then there was a contamination in the bottle or in the collection.
yes.
The water was not.
The water was not. It's likely that the water itself was not contaminated, but there was something else that contaminated it in the process.
Right. It's very easy to get a hit.
So that's,
Somebody sneezed.
Mm.
so that's your, otherwise, everything was,
That'd be amazing.
sorry to jump in on all that.
No, I'm
I
very
forgot
glad
there
you
was
did.
some excitement in the beginning
No,
of
it sounds like
July.
all is well in the wells.
Yes. And then you have your utility billing report.
Oh, well, you know. I'm Monday night about that. Okay, here we go.
Exactly.
Utility bills issued, $167.30. Penalties, finance charges issued, $592.32. Utility payments received, $10,483.72. Re-levy unpaid onto property taxes, 0. Accounts receivable outstanding to the village as of July 1st, 2026, $16,971.81. There were some bill adjustments, they were all fairly modest, and I'm not going to need to read those. And submitted by Jen. Thank you, Jen.
Great. Okay, that's just a report, right? We don't need to accept that. Wonderful. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, the one other thing I wanted to mention relating to the water department. Our engineer had recommended that we apply for a cybersecurity grant, which I think we applied maybe in April. To be honest, I'd forgotten about it, and we were awarded a $50,000 grant for cybersecurity related to our water treatment. And the reason why it's just water treatment is because our sewer system is not connected to the internet in any way at this time. So pretty excited to have the opportunity to make sure that our water plant is cyber secure.
Oh yeah, especially some of the recent news.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the Daily Freeman. It was, and we did. I actually saw it in the Daily Freeman first, and then we received an official letter a couple days later.
Definitely. I saw both the news as well, and then as of our grant, but also I think it was in Minnesota. Perhaps a small municipality's water infrastructure was recently.
Oh, there've been quite a few places.
Very timely.
And it's easy to say, well, we're small, so we wouldn't be a logical target. What happens more so is when you're trying to disrupt things, you put out a wide net, and if you don't have the proper protections, you get caught up in that net.
Sure.
So they're not targeting us, but we could get caught up in a
Sure.
sweep, if you will. So
Sure.
we have limited connection, but it's a really good idea for us to have.
Oh,
So
definitely.
it's wonderful. The timing is great.
Definitely.
So I have voucher approval. So I have a motion to approve audited vouchers as presented by the treasurer in her August, hang on, I got a few more things to say, August 10th, 2026 report. General fund, $36,236.39. Water fund, $10,727.09. Sewer fund, $4,179.84. Now I'll take your motion, Fran.
I will make that, so moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Craig. All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Now I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Craig. Second? Somebody say it.
I'll second.
Thank you. Well,
Oh, sorry.
I heard Mel Corca first. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Awesome. Thank you very much.